Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 257. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, alongside Johnny V, who apparently found some... were you out on Video Hive? Did you find some graphics package somewhere that you were playing with?
No, I built that from scratch.
Oh, my gosh.
I took a little class.
I should have guessed that.
Yeah, well, I took a little class, and it was kind of a tutorial, so that was what they... what you built in the tutorial. It's nothing. I mean, it's a cool little thing to start out with. My goal is to be able to do a little bit more of that stuff, but I'm still not good at it by any means.
All right. Well, for our audio listeners, we saw this amazing, or less than amazing, 4-second graphic pop up to open the show tonight. Completely threw me for a loop. I didn't know what show I was on or what was going on here.
I'm up in the game.
Absolutely lost here on this Tuesday night, but Johnny's pulling it all back together and getting us on track. So, and if somebody wants to come at us saying we do not bring them production value, now we have this to throw in their face.
Right at
this
them.
should hold us over for another 4 to 5 years.
I'm going to give it 3. Just 3. I mean, we're still rolling with the Dynamite intro with the Dynamite that AJ Risley had made for us.
Yeah, you got it. Well, Disc Baron, wow, is already jumping in on the Super Chat. Thank you, Disc
That's
Baron.
not just a Super Chat. That's a new Super Chat sticker feature that Facebook or
How does it
YouTube.
work, Johnny?
Well, if you click the little $sign underneath of the chat,
you
can do a Super Chat where you can put a message, or you can do a Super Chat sticker where you get this little animated logo of, I think I just checked it out. There's probably about 50 different stickers or things down there.
I'd love to see all 50.
I mean, really, the pink ones, those are the best ones.
Oh, man, yeah. I can't wait to see if those work. I hope they work on our channel. Well, thank you. In all seriousness, thank you, Disc Baron. You're exactly right. I'm seeing this new animated GIF that goes along with the Super Chat that he's provided, and we do appreciate that very much so. So tonight, I can all but guarantee, pretty close, we're going to hear and see from our 4-time Women's World Champion, and now recently
European Open Champion.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say recently crowned European Open champion as well.
But I was going to say, I've heard this story before, Terry Miller. You have promised us Paige Pierce in the past. You've promised us Double G and Jessica Weiss in the past.
Yep.
You're promising the world.
I am. I know. All the best players. Well, Paige Pierce, I did speak to her, and she, in fact, it was a little after 6 o'clock because she said in 3 hours, right? Because we were trying to get the time zones down. She has traveled back from Europe. She is now in Kentucky. She was on the course, and then she said she would gladly join us tonight. Full disclosure, I had reached out. There was, again, another follow-up to try and have Double G and Jessica Weiss, as we know that they're certainly due as well. They are, being the superstars that they are over at the Amworld's Fly Mart, so tonight wasn't good for that. And in similar fashion, also, Mr. Macbeth, who is, of course, now just won the European Open. We originally had talked to him about possibly joining us, and same thing. He's got obligations with the Fly Mart, which we are so excited that there's those pros, and I'd love to hear of other pros that are representing their companies or their own brands at the Fly Mart over in York, Pennsylvania. So hello to anyone that's over there. And as I said in an Instagram quick video right before, a day late, but best of luck to you as you continue through your journey here at the Amworlds this week. Super excited to see
I also reached out to Michael Jordan. I reached out to Babe Ruth. I reached
Matt
out
Damon.
to a lot of...
You got Matt?
No, Matt Damon. He'll be in the after show,
okay.
As the joke goes. Speaking of Double G, as Amp Style to YouTube brings up, we did see on Facebook that Innova has promoted him, finally, I feel, to the star team. It's been what I feel is a long time coming, especially if he's really dedicated back to the tour after, obviously, his first really big win just a few weeks ago in
the Silver Cup.
Well, he won the Silver Cup just this past weekend, but his first national tour win he got earlier this year. So well-deserved, I feel, for Double G. Congratulations.
Alex, we also saw, got promoted as well to the champion team, I believe,
yes.
as well. So Alex Russell. So congratulations, of course, to both of them. All right, so tonight we'll talk European Open, of course. I don't think there's a better source to get the inside scoop and all the details for the European Open than from one of our champions herself in Paige Pierce. So it'd be great to connect with her. Dynamite, who normally comes on early in the show and opens with us, he is still en route of traveling back. I know he was in Vermont this last week for the entire week. His family, along with some other golfers and their family. So Dynamite will not be joining us tonight, but we hope that he and the families travel safely as they return from what Snapchat and Instagram and all those showed us looked like a pretty successful week out in Vermont. As anytime you go to Smuggler's Notch,
Heaven on
vacation
earth,
or
man.
otherwise, yeah, your things have to be going well for you. So great to see it and great to hear it. All right. Other news that we could jump right to that we'll open with at the moment, or something that we saw that was, I don't want to say thrust upon us. We were maybe enlightened of a few days ago, and then a little more in a formal way was released today. Disc Golf Pro Tour making the announcement that we're going to hear and see, but mainly see, Robert McCall.
Mainly hear, somewhat see.
I would like to see more than hear. Robert McCall and Dixon Jowers are going to be taking over this weekend's live play-by-play calling from the booth in the Dynamic Disc headquarters. I don't know if they have a fancier name for it. I know that's what it is, but they should come up with a fancier name maybe.
The Paige Pierce Studios.
Yes. They're in Paige's house. The house that Paige built.
The house that Paige built.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably have to give that to EMAC. He was there first, but...
Maybe.
Technically, it's the house that Rusko built.
All right, maybe.
The warehouse that Rusko built.
Exactly. So, very excited, of course, to see and hear that. It's great that it's going to work out the way it is. Having Robert and Dixon, and I'm going to put all my bias right out on the table and say, when I do live commentary, and I enjoy doing commentary with everyone I've ever done live commentary with, it has found to be the most, I don't want to say the easiest. That's not a fair way to put it. Well, maybe it is. Some of my easiest broadcasts have been with both Robert and with Dixon, because both of them have such a great knowledge and both of them have such a background in speaking either to crowds or to video. So there's a comfort level. So anytime I've ever, including most of last year with Dixon and, of course, a number of times with Robert, those are always some of my favorite times. And as much as I love commentating with everybody, those have been two of the most comfortable ones that I've ever done anytime I'm working with them. So they're going to be teamed up together, and they're good friends. They'll be teamed up together, and as far as I know, unless I've been fired or replaced, as far as I know, I will be out in the field giving some occasional field reporting and updates.
Sure you will.
Or not.
No,
I could be a water boy. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend.
Of course. Terry will be out on the course giving us those updates. Hopefully every 3 to 4 holes, if we're lucky, we'll be able to kind of get an inside view of what the players are feeling on the tee. Some of that good old-fashioned sideline reporting that you've been dipping your toes in.
I reached out to Erin Andrews.
Yeah.
She hasn't returned my call. And
I probably would have gone with Pam Oliver. I think she's a little bit better on the sideline.
Okay.
But, you do you.
Well, when I saw everyone complaining in that meme last time, it seemed like they preferred blondes. So that's the only reason why I wanted to reach out to Erin to see if she had any special insight for me other
Dye
than
your hair?
Dyeing my hair. So we'll see. I won't keep my fingers crossed on that. But yeah, in all seriousness, it should be a lot of fun having this crew and this team together. As what I think is really maybe the bigger picture to it too, is we continue just to try things, and this is a specific combination. Having the sideline reporting is something that's relatively new to us in the last few events, but then having yet another duo or another team at the controls in calling the shots from the booth. As much as I said, I've worked with these gentlemen one-on-one, to have those two together and then have the setup that we do, I'm just kind of excited to see and hear it all this weekend for sure. So. Zach says you plan to be at Idlewild. We saw you there, Zach. I think it was last year or the year before. That really segues to my point, though, of the crowds and the turnout and the enthusiasm. Now, we're not at European Open status when we head to Idlewild, but many will say that Idlewild has brought some of the largest and most enthusiastic crowds that we've seen in the last few years on the Pro Tour, and we hope that this year is more of the same. Because everyone loves playing in front of a crowd. We love seeing those big galleries out there. I think they're even offering some kind of a special access pass where some of the gallery is allowed to go in even some restricted areas where the general gallery isn't, due to a little bit of space constraints. But super excited to see how everyone turns out here at Idlewild. And we'll also, of course, get Paige's insight as she's out there prepping as well. I know there was a conversation about fan votes, and I'm not sure when that exactly finalizes, but I know they're trying to lock down the couple of extra players that are either on the FPO or the MPO side who will come in for the fan vote as well. And again, should be super excited to see it throughout the weekend.
And I know I want to give them some props because a few weeks ago, I may have laid into them a little bit for the website.
Because you're a jerk.
A total jerk. I do want to update everybody that the website has been updated, so they heard or they just planned on already, and it's now up to date.
I don't care what you think.
Probably not, but you can look at the event schedule now. They have Wednesday through Sunday out here. The course page has a nice map of the course with a link to the caddy book. So
love it. Everything you asked for.
Everything
I don't want to hear you whine ever again about anything.
So I do want to give a shout out to the crew, whoever made that happen. It's much appreciated on everybody's side. I think it's quite literally, not this particular one, but in general, the website is the minimum that we can do for our spectators and our viewers that we can make sure to get out there. So great job to the Idlewild crew and whoever did that.
Yeah, it looks like everything you were talking about. You were hoping for a map, hoping for a caddy book, the schedule. It's all laid out. Johnny, where can they find that? Is that idlewildopen.com?
That is www.theidlewildopen.com.
All right. Well, good. So everything you need, you can find it there. And then, of course, stay in touch with the Disc Golf Pro Tour's Facebook page and Instagram page. Those will, of course, be up to date and have the stuff as it unfolds as well. In fact, I think they're even going to have the kids' disc golf is going to take place must be Thursday night. I believe it's Thursday night if you look at the schedule, which is a great opportunity. Paige has talked about that in the past, and I know we see so many of our top pros that are participating in that. All right, I'm going to reach out and ask Paige if she is ready, and hopefully we can get her on. As we'll eventually get to Paige here in just a few moments, European Open, first major of the year, 4 rounds.
Do you feel like it's too late for our first major of the year?
It feels odd that it is so late. Yes, I mean we're in July.
Having Worlds come up, it feels like almost right away. Mm-hmm. I know we're less than a month away. I feel like the first major should be in like early June. That's kind of my feeling. I think we should have one early June, probably more towards July/August, and then October for USDGC. I'd love to see a 4th major in there somewhere for whatever we do, but if you're going to have them, it just feels like they should be spread out just a little bit.
Yeah, and we all, I mean, we talk about it a lot, usually in like October, November, December. The scheduling process is not an easy one, and especially when you're trying to organize things like the National Tour, the Pro Tour, how those are going to first get their first preferences along with the majors, and then just how everything kind of gets pieced together or fits together. And then there's certain restrictions that are beyond, most of our control. So those are all things that get factored in when you're talking about it. It's tough. It does feel late, but it's under our belt, and we are excited to now be joined in just a moment. It looks like sitting in our Disc Baron digital green room.
There you go. I wanted to make sure you had time to get that in there.
Oh, I do, because he's such a great supporter. We can welcome to the show, straight out of Europe, Paige Pierce.
Hello.
Hey, Paige. How's it going tonight?
Good. How about you guys?
Great. Not as good as you. I mean,
we're
Jetlag.
Or I was going to say, we're not major winners, but...
we're major losers.
That's true. Hopefully. Some may differ, but some may question that.
How are you feeling?
I feel good. I feel a little tired, but I feel good.
Do you have any sort of routine to help you get out of the jet lag? Because, I mean, you're a pretty well-traveled person. You especially over this past winter. You traveled all over the world, and now European Open. Is there anything special you do to help you just kind of break out of the funk?
I mean, I don't ever feel like I could get enough sleep, so I always just sleep as often as I can, like on the plane, anywhere.
Would you say that you're able to fall asleep relatively quickly, or do you have to be
Yes.
super tired, or any special conditions to falling asleep, or you can just sleep wherever, whenever?
I can definitely, like, it doesn't matter position-wise or, like, what surface I'm on, or, like, van life. Everyone's like, oh, but I'm not flat here. And I'm, like, never worried about my van being flat because I can sleep no matter what. But I'm sure it's not good for your back or neck. But
Well, I think it's more so you might just end up like on the side of the van, like in between your mattress and the wall of the van if it's not level.
Well, do you at least, before we move off that topic, when you park, and let's say you definitely recognize, like, all right, my van's not totally level tonight, I'm okay with that, I don't want to move it, I don't care that much, but will you at least position yourself so, like, your feet aren't above your head, so to speak? I mean, are you always slanted in the right direction, or not necessarily?
yeah, if it's that bad.
Okay.
Usually you can't really tell it's not that bad.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So we keep talking about this jet lag and this travel. What was your travel like coming back? You know, when did the event end for you? When did the festivities end for you? And then what was it like getting back here?
Well, the event ended at, I guess, like 5, something like that. And then the black party starts at 7. It's like, if you know much about the European Open, you know about the Beast and you know about the black party. And, yeah, that goes pretty much all night till you want to leave,
Mhm.
basically. So that was a long night, probably 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe later. And then woke up for Monday morning commentary at 8.
Yeesh.
And then the Finnish coffee is very strong.
Okay. I'm guessing that was of assistance.
Yeah, of course. Also just like excitement too, headed home, coming off like a good week too. So, and then we left as soon as commentary was over and drove 2 hours back to Helsinki where the airport is.
Mm-hmm.
And then had a 3.5-hour flight, and then an hour layover, and then a 6.5-hour flight, and then going through customs and all that, and then eating dinner, first American meal in a week.
And what was it?
I had filet mignon,
Okay.
Nice.
little medallions, medium rare,
That's the best way to have them.
Yep.
Medium rare, yeah.
of course. And then I just drove towards Idlewild. Yeah, I only made it like an hour and a half down the road before I had to pass out. Jump in the back and pass out, and then I drove the rest of the way this morning. I couldn't like sleep past 4 a.m., but I just kind of like laid there and like laid down for another couple hours. But then I just started driving at 6, and I got here by like 11 and played a practice round, and yeah.
So, we'll go right into that part specifically right now. You're in those temperatures and conditions. It sounded like it got a little warm as the week went on, but usually, I know when I was there a few weeks ago, you were accustomed to like 60 degree, maybe 70, and now you come back and it's a little bit of an adjustment, right? I mean, today was maybe mild in the Midwest, but down in Kentucky, you're talking 80s and pushing 90, or no?
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, honestly. I didn't actually check the temperature, but I mean, I had a tank top and shorts on, but I wasn't like overheated by any means.
Okay. So let's back all the way up to the good stuff of this event. You travel over there. You're kind of unique in that you went there solely for this event. You think of your good friends Eric and Tina who have been there for a month. Eagle, who's been there for multiple weeks or a month as well. Kevin Jones left right after Great Lakes to go there for a couple of weeks, and Ricky's been there for a few weeks. You go there solely to play this event and then come back. How did that get factored into your, what made up your mind to do just that?
Well, I actually wasn't even going to go to Europe this year. I went last year for about 6 weeks in the middle of the summer, and it was like I missed a few pro tours. I missed a lot of big U.S. events, and so I didn't want to do a full Europe tour again, and I really wasn't just going to go for one event. And it's really expensive. Like, honestly, like, full disclosure, even winning the event, I profited maybe $200-300. So it's like,
until the black party, and now you're even. Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so I don't know. It's just expensive, and but it's a great course, and it's a major championship, and the best competition that we have, and on a great course. So I just didn't want to miss it, especially considering it was the President's Cup attached to it, and I wanted to represent my country. I thought it would be cool, and I just decided it would be better to go over there.
Well, I mean, you took home a major win and everything. You averaged right around, I think, 980 something golf, because it looked like that final round you had some struggles on the island hole, which may have brought your rating down, but you weren't really in any sort of danger of losing the event. But ultimately, it was a very successful weekend for you.
What is that like when things were relatively tight first round, and all these women are right there with you? You guys are all your skill sets are all so closely matched, and you're getting extra challenged because of Kristen, because of Henna, women that you don't see every weekend. Evelina, of course. What is that? How does that change your mentality going into the weekend, knowing the competition is probably more fierce here than anywhere you've seen in the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge factor in my decision, is that, like, I got to play against Evelina at Memorial and Henna at
Jonesboro.
Jonesboro.
Yep.
And Kristen, I haven't played against since U.S. Women, so it was just exciting to be able to play against all of them again. And it's pretty rare. And when you look at the stats, they're in the top 10 women, so in the world, and we're only playing against each other maybe twice a year. So I was excited to add another tournament where I could compete alongside them.
Now, I know you said you saw some great shots. You filed some in your memory bank. You even filed some, digitally, and that you've got a new nice line coming out, and you can share that. But what are some of the other takeaways or the moments or memories you can share that you feel like are really specific to being there? Like, when if you say I left Europe and here's a few of the memories specifically on the course or whatever, what are some of those you can share with us that really stick with you?
I think, honestly, just like competing for the President's Cup, for starters, that's my first day there. So that's, where I'd start, I guess, is just like, you're, especially, Kat and I, we don't get along at all. And we're now thrown into this situation where we have to not only get along, but
root for each other and cheer for each other.
Yeah. And we still cheer for each other. We respect each other's shots and stuff like that. But, it's even past that, where it's now like, hey, Kat, I think you should throw that disc, or like, hey, if I was you, or like, if it was me, I'd be throwing a mid-range. So, and so stuff like, we don't ever like help each other's game. We'll clap for good shots and stuff like that. But it's like, now we're on this whole other platform, and trying to like stay undefeated as the United States team, and we find ourselves down going into the second 9. So it was cool to just like kind of come together for the greater good for that round, and that was just on our card, and then we're seeing like we're asking the Finns to use their phones so we can check how the men are doing, and we're like, oh dang, we need to go over there and root for them, and like when we see none of our men are doing good and we still weren't out of it yet, we were like, okay, let's rally, and it was just like a cool experience because Germ was a reserve and Sexton was the captain, and so they just kept bouncing around between all the cards, like telling us what was going on, and Germ's very high energy, so it was cool to just like make it this bigger thing, because for us, we weren't there and we didn't get to feel that, so it was cool to like see it from all over the course. Germ just sprinting over to tell you the news and stuff. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you for our listeners out there that maybe aren't familiar, the President's Cup is like a Ryder Cup kind of event. First round, the U.S. was actually down 16.5 to 11.5, and it didn't look like, I think other than Kevin Jones, the U.S. team really didn't perform that well.
No, not in the first round.
And that was, I believe that was match play.
That was stroke play.
Or that was stroke play. And then we go to match play, and the U.S., especially the men, swept. And that's really all that was required. You pushed with Evelina, and Kat ended up, it looked like Kat lost to Henna. So, and you guys made a really awesome comeback to end up at 21-31. So it was, congratulations on winning the President's Cup. But was there any worry based on your play at the President's Cup? I mean, that first round, if you look at the scores, you did not play well at all. Did that go into? Is it just a different environment? Can you separate the President's Cup that first day from the rest of the European Open?
Yeah, are you talking about me specifically?
Yeah, you specifically for this particular question.
Yeah, I mean, it was completely irrelevant to me other than just, get it together and don't let your country down. That sounds dramatic to say it like that, but no, it was, I wasn't worried about my own game for later in the week at all. It was, my first time seeing the course for the year, right after I just got done traveling. I had just got into Finland at 8 a.m. and the President's Cup's everything started at noon. So,
wow,
it was kind of a whirlwind for me.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, you're traveling, you're still making all those adjustments, and then you're basically thrown right into like, oh yeah, by the way, play starting. Good luck, USA. I could understand how that was a little bit probably hectic for you. Is it fair to say, and all of us at some time or another have played in some form of a match play format on a team, so it's really unique for a lot of the things you just said. Do you see that on the guy side? You just said, you're playing partner, and you were in her group the entire day or event when it was Katrina. On the guy side, do you feel like maybe there's some of that as well? And I'll just put it out there, like a Ricky and a Paul, they're not best friends off the course, but yet they all have a unified goal and and an end goal in sight here. Do you feel like maybe there's some of those situations on the men's side too, where people put certain things aside, or is everybody, you know what I mean? Like, what's kind of the vibe there?
I actually, like I kind of was touching on, we don't actually get to see them because we're playing at the same time, so I don't actually know that.
Oh, sure.
I'm sure there's some things maybe that are like that. I'm not quite positive, but I would say too that it's probably more likely that we are going to help each other in those decisions, in those moments, because the men aren't necessarily still learning, they're just trying to perfect and fine tune their skills. Like, I think that we have so many more shots that we're still trying to learn, that we're kind of still experimenting, if you will.
Yeah.
And Ricky's never going to go over there and be like, hey, Paul, I think you should do this.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, could you imagine like Ricky leaning into Paul and be like, hey, I
No.
think you should throw your zone here. Like, could you just
might wanna club up. No, I can never see that happening.
Oh, let me actually, if it, depending on the conditions of the course, if it's really windy, maybe Ricky has an idea like, oh, Paul, you might want to club up on this when it's kind of windy. I could maybe see that, but in general, you're right. Most of those men probably aren't going to be, leaning in other than to maybe coordinate scoring or something like, hey, I got this one. You don't need to attack or something like that. Whereas if you look at your game page versus Kat's game, that's two different styles of golf. I mean, you'll see Kat lay down rollers and forehands much more frequently than you will on holes. You're obviously much more of a power backhand thrower, so it would be really interesting to listen to the interactions between the two of you talking about the golf shots.
Well, and I'll follow that right up, Paige. One of the things that you've been complimented for, and I've known this for a long time, and the more we hear and see you doing commentary, whether it was live last year or in post-production, you very much know what other players are throwing. Like, you're an observer, you're a student of the game, you're very well versed with how a lot of these discs fly, and if you don't know what the disc is or what they just threw, you'll just ask in the round, be like, oh, what was that? And you know those types of things. You were recently complimented considerably because people were so impressed with how much you knew other people's bags. Do you feel like you know their bags and their games equally?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that, a lot of people are like, how do you not let a bogey get to you or stuff like that? I really am not thinking about that bogey for very long. Like, I definitely do get frustrated, and I think we all do, even the people that say they don't. I mean, they're maybe just not, they're still smiling, but everyone's getting frustrated when you take a number. But for me, it kind of goes away pretty quickly because I'm just, the very next shot that's thrown, whether it be mine or, any XYZ player on my card, it's like I'm focused on that throw and like how I can learn from that throw, because we don't throw the same, but I think just like learning how it can fly is beneficial, and just also knowing, like in the President's Cup, when I see Katrina grab her M2, then I know, okay, when Kat throws her M2, I can probably usually throw my Marshall or maybe my Suspect, stuff like that. And just, I think it's, again, more like relatable for higher level players that play together all the time, like Ricky and Paul, they play together all the time, and Eagle as well. But, maybe throw in like a player that's very capable of winning tournaments, but just isn't always on that league card, like Brian Earhart or something. He might not exactly know every disc in Paul's bag, so Ricky might have that advantage.
Well, and just to button up this topic, I think one of the biggest points you're making, directly or indirectly, is if Kat throws a disc and that's her beat up D1, and you see it, not flip up on her, you, with all of your knowledge, can say, wow, that's normally would flip up on her. The win must not be as much as I thought it was. Like, you're getting very specific reads because you know their disc and what their disc either are meant to do or usually do. Like, that's so much knowledge.
Yeah, but you have to be careful with that. Because, okay, so Kat has this D2 that's gray. I'm sure we've all seen it if you've ever seen Katrina throw a round of disc golf. Mm-hmm. I have a Defender that's purple, and I would say for Kat and for me, those discs are the same. Okay. But if I threw Kat's gray D2 and she threw my purple Defender, it wouldn't fly the same, because she throws her discs with a lot more hyzer than I do, and a lot more hyzer than a Rebecca Cox, because she releases everything with anhyzer. And so it's like you also kind of have to know how it flies compared to how you throw the disc.
Yeah. Yep.
So
totally.
I don't know, but you can always tell, like, if you pay attention enough, like, okay, when Kat throws that D2, it usually never moves past flat, and that time it did ride flat. So, you know,
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Is when you see her disc do something.
It's a lot of staring at shots and just thinking.
Well, it's a good thing that you now have a YouTube series that you can do things like Nice Line, and you can analyze a lot of that stuff. So, when can we expect the next Nice Line?
If you're a Patreon subscriber.
I dropped one today, but it was actually from Junior Worlds. So it's somebody that a lot of y'all probably don't know, but just a little kid that was my partner in our doubles match and just blew us all away. It was awesome.
No, that's great. I love to see the different skill levels represented, and it's nice that I think up until now you've had all just FBO players.
Yeah, that was the idea of the show, and still is the basis for it. But I have been thinking about like other ways that I can do other things. You know, maybe a not so great shot that they wish they could take back, and then go out there with them the day after and see, you know,
sure,
have them throw it how they want it, or I don't know, stuff like that. Maybe some MPO players, some of my shots too, maybe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when the news comes in, and I know there's various eruptions, and you've got Big Germ yelling and screaming and running around like a schoolgirl probably, and you got Sexton, and you got all this excitement and things going on, and then it's official, like whether it's via UDisc or among your group, it's official. You guys have won the President's Cup. What's like the immediate emotion that comes over you?
So it was actually a little bit different because the second round we had tee times. So the girls, when we finished, you know, there was a card right behind us and right behind them and right behind them. But so basically the lead card still had like 4 holes left. So as we finished, we would just like walk back and look at the card behind us, and we'd all talk and we'd be like, "Did you win? Did you win? Okay, we tied." You know, and then we'd be like, "Okay, we need 3 more wins," and we would walk backwards some more, and we'd be like, "Okay, you're up. Okay, we only need one of them to win," and then we get to Eagle and Paul's card, and we're like, or Barsby and Paul's card, and we're like, "Okay, we just need one of y'all to push. The other one can even lose. Like, you guys got this," you know? So it was kind of cool. In the second match, we could kind of talk a little bit and, you know, just kind of see that with each win that came in, we could, you know, breathe a little bit deeper. It was cool.
Now, we've seen that only once in the U.S., and it happened before the U.S. DGC. I don't know if that was probably 2010-ish. It was quite a while ago. You've been a part of these. You're, you know, the best female in disc golf right now. What are the chances, and what does Europe need to do to somehow overcome the U.S. overall? I mean, the U.S. is undefeated in this competition. Are they that much closer? Are we getting scared yet?
Yeah, I think I was definitely scared. Even just like when I saw the lineup. I mean, look at how we did, Kat and I. You know, the women, they would have won it. And if a couple more of their guys had the right matchups, I think they could have won. And Seppo didn't drop. I mean, they definitely could have won. I think this would have been a year where I would have looked back and be like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you put Seppo in there. Let's just, I don't know who against who. He gets a win. That's a.
Oh, think about this.
That's like a 6-point swing.
Why not put Simon as their bottom seed? At least it guarantees them a win. You know?
I don't know about that. I don't think, looking at this lineup, I don't think you can guarantee a win from any player on any of the sides, whether it's ours or theirs. Whether you put Greg up against KJ or Timu or Simon, or I mean, in general, when your fields are this stacked,
yeah,
it's anybody's game.
It's anybody's game. I would have loved to obviously see a Seppo out there to maybe try to squeeze this up just a little bit, or as we saw on the lead card in MPO. What is it? Was it
Alex?
No,
is that his name?
Albert.
Maybe.
Albert.
Okay.
Oh, Albert. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So, congratulations on that. It's awesome. You know, we barely hold on to it, we'll say, for another until the next time, the President's Cup. Then you move into the event. You start out pretty strong. You're right in the thick of things. Anything from rounds 1 or 2 that you want to touch on or highlight before we get into the final 2 rounds? Anything from rounds 1 or 2 that jump out at you?
They're all kind of blending together right now.
Sure.
Just my putts, honestly.
What about them? Elaborate. What do you mean?
I mean, I made them all. I made them all. I did it.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah. I'm
not all of them. I missed a couple, but comparatively speaking, it was just my putting percent was in the high 80s or mid 80s, and I think for better part of the year it was almost in the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, your Circle 1 putts were 83%, and it looks like round 1 may have been your worst round of putting, as you had a 3-putt in there, and you missed, I think, two other ones inside the circle. And after that, I mean, you played very, very cleanly, honestly. And just what is it? Is it this course particular that suits you so well that you can beat the field by 17 strokes? Do you feel that this course, just because of its distance and everything, just sets up that much better for you?
I think not really. There's not really a distance advantage, I wouldn't say, especially because the ladies I'm playing with are the farthest throwers in the division. So
yeah, you got Kristen and Evelina can bomb discs just practically just as well as you can.
Hannah throws farther than all of them.
Does she really? Okay.
Yeah, on a pure hyzer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So distance isn't it. Did you manage do you feel like, I mean, we can look at the numbers and the stats, but do you feel like you manage the course better, you stay cleaner, you stay away from big numbers? What do you feel like was the key to your success?
I guess the cleaner and no big numbers kind of thing.
Sure.
I mean, I've been throwing the disc really well. We've talked about it, but I just haven't been able to get up and down, even having the best drive and taking the worst score. So to clean it up, maybe it cost me 1 stroke a hole for 4 rounds, with give or take a couple missed putts here and there. But, that's a pretty big significant number there.
Now, I think I know this answer, but I do want to be sure. You play from the exact same tees, or do you have any different tees there?
Yeah, they're all 18 are the same.
Okay. I was just in Finland. I know I asked the question there myself, but how did you feel about that? Do you feel like the course sets up well for both FPO and MPO in this instance?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Now, moving into rounds 3 and 4, I mean, you really were distancing yourself to the point where you go into round 4. And I don't want to say it's a walk in the park. You still want to be, play a good game. You still want to shoot well for yourself, regardless of what your lead is or isn't. I understand all of that. But is there a little less pressure at least? Do you feel, is there a number where you're like, okay, I've got 6 strokes versus 12 versus 19. Is there a number where you feel really comfortable in terms of your lead?
I mean, I definitely felt 100% comfortable going into the last round. I'm not gonna lose 1 stroke per hole for the entire round, So it wasn't like thinking about numbers, more so just like, how can I learn from this? How can I use this next round to help me in the future? And so I tried to put pressure on myself, actually. I tried to simulate some sort of pressure situation. So I decided that the best thing to do for that would just be to pretend that we were tied and pretend that, I was tied with Henna and then I had to outright beat her in this round. And, just to simulate a situation that could happen in the future like that, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
it worked.
Yeah,
and try to work through those nerves and how I felt, but it was obviously faking it, so I had to really trick myself into thinking that.
Now let's touch on the culture. I was very blessed to see it with my own two eyes. It was a different atmosphere at Toonie. You know, there's 1,000 competitors and not nearly as many spectators as we saw here at the European Open, which is so much more pro-based. But describe the atmosphere, the amount of people, their temperament. Describe what it's like with that many people out there while you're playing. And how did the crowds treat you versus MPO in terms of the size?
Well, the third day, we were the 6th card out. So there was the top 5 men's cards were after us, but everybody else was before us. So we had I would say an hour and a half between the lead women and lead men. And so we had a gallery for the first 7 or 8 holes, but they kind of left after that to go with the men. Mm-hmm. But I mean, even for that third of a round, it was just it was crazy. It was really crazy just to see that. I mean, there were so many people that you couldn't see all the people, wow. And they were on all different sides of you. It was just crazy. But I think a lot of them don't even know about disc golf fully yet. I think they're learning about it on the news and the radio and all these places that UC's promoting. So it's really cool to see just all different types of people there, really.
Well, and that was a question on the board, and it obviously sounds like a pretty fair one right now. The general population is oh, I saw it on the news, I thought I'd come check it out today. And you're saying these aren't just all the amateur golfers from around there. You're saying just the general population and grandpappy and the 2 grandkids had nothing better to do, so they decided to come check out disc golf that day. Is that? I mean, maybe. That's what it sounds like we're hearing.
Yeah, there was definitely some of those. Wow. Absolutely. Okay. I don't know how many comparatively,
sure.
Versus actual disc golfers. There was definitely a lot of people there that did know about disc golf. I would say still more than half did know about disc golf, but there were a lot of new people.
I mean, how different is it than something here in the States where I go down to the beach and go check out the kite festival or the hot air balloon festival, out in Pewaukee or something along those lines, where it's just a cool thing that you hear about on the radio, or maybe you kind of know just a little bit about it. And for them, obviously, it's a little bit bigger than those type of incidents. But I could see something like that being out and about and active, and it's a sport. It's something new and unique.
Yeah, I guess. What do you feel about the culture of the way disc golf is promoted and or embraced there? How does that strike you as a professional athlete, Paige?
I think that it's really big there. I think they take it a lot more seriously. It's more so looked at as a career, Mm-hmm. All these kids are, I mean, a lot of the names that you saw that were high up in the tournament that weren't Americans were 15, 16-year-olds, 21-year-olds. And these kids are competing with the best in the world at the biggest tournament of the year so far. It's crazy. It's really serious over here. They take it very serious. They're doing hardcore drills and lessons, where we're just going and playing a couple casual rounds a week and, then playing in a weekly tournament.
Yeah, it's as I say, it's kind of interesting looking at some of the names of the gentlemen overseas versus the women. The men, most of them we've never really talked about or heard about, because a lot of us know the names like your KJ Naibo, just Yale Stoor, Leo Peronen, but Albert Tam, I think it's Jesse Nivanen, Mikhail, I'm going to blow this one, but Razinen, Antti Kalanen, those are in the top 10, and I don't know if I've ever heard of them, as opposed to the women, where we hear nothing but, look at the women overseas, look at your Henna, your Evelina, your Kristen Tatar. Those are names that we hear all the time. So to see these new young men kind of coming up, it really is interesting.
Yeah,
some of them are still in junior high, so they can't really just come on over to the States.
Well, and that was going to be my next question is, when do you think we're going to see more of that? I mean, we see, you know, Kristen and Silver were here for, you know, a month last year, and I know others are traveling here for extended periods of time, or they'll come over for 2 or 3 big events. Do you think we're going to see a lot more of these European players ultimately come over and spend, you know, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months with us? Do you think that's in the cards or not yet?
Yeah, I think so, but I think it'll be a couple more years for those kind of names, you know.
Sure.
They're still in school, but I think that you are going to see more and more and more every year.
All right. Well, any other international travel? I know you talked about this one and almost, you know, being talked into it. Is there any other high-level international travel that you have planned this year? I know you're doing some kind of more fun-ish stuff, but any other high competition travel?
For competition, no.
Yeah. No.
Nope.
Do you like that the last few years there's almost been this summertime break where going to Europe, like you said, for 6 weeks last year, or how a bunch of our players went for 3 or 4 or 5 weeks this year? Do you like that opportunity in the middle of the season, or not so much? Would you like to see it continue? Maybe that's a better way to word it.
I think it's not sustainable for us, but then again, it's not sustainable for them to come here.
Okay.
So it's like, it's cool that it's an option, but I don't think you'll ever see the field that you want in either place, you know?
Okay.
So maybe we go somewhere like Thailand and just build a great course there, because it's so cheap to go there. It's so cheap. Why don't we build a beast in Thailand?
Because it would take up the whole island of Koh Samui.
I would actually move to Thailand.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'd almost have to inhabit one of the other. I think there's like 1,463 islands that are technically part of Thailand, and Koh Samui is the second largest. Like, if you put the beast on Koh Samui, like, think how much space that takes up on that one island. Yeah. It's incredible.
We'll have 2 stoplights.
Yeah, exactly. So the one final question I'll ask regarding the international travel, and this is hopefully hits home for you most, what is your take on FPO there in terms of the similarities? Does the FPO division face the same challenges, the same, you know, participation numbers? You know, is it compare and contrast FPO world and life in Europe disc golf compared to American?
Well, there was only 20 women, and it was a major.
Okay.
So, you know, there's a good point to that. Mm-hmm. You know, there's not that many women, and that's a common thing, right?
Yeah.
And maybe even more so in the States, which is crazy compared when you think about the numbers and how many courses they have and how many men they have, you know, that are just starting out. So I think unfortunately it's kind of the same story over there, but you know, we're growing, and we see that we're growing slowly but definitely surely.
Awesome. All right. Anything you want to give us a quick preview for Idlewild this weekend before we let you go? Any thoughts, game plan, anything like that?
I'm just excited. The course looks amazing. The tournament doesn't even start for another 3 days, right? It's
Friday.
Tuesday?
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, it starts Friday. Yep.
Yeah, so they were out there today. The course is already set up. They handed me a caddy book as soon as I rolled into the parking lot. And above that, now they've decided they are carving out like spectator paths in the woods, so that spectators can also go to the wooded holes. And so they're like really going above and beyond. They've made a few holes harder. The course is already ready to go, and it looks really good.
Awesome. Yeah, we talked about that right before you joined us. We said there is a special spectator pass that you can buy that allows a limited amount of people into a certain part of the woods, just because everyone can't fit. So as Paige is saying, they're specifically going after and, you know, trying to make a really special experience for the people that want a little taste of everything. And we saw that last year at Maple Hill, and I like the idea of this like all access pass for a limited amount of people, so that it's not too distracting to all of the players.
That's cool. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, all right, Paige. Well, we're gonna let you go. I know you want to, get fully back in the swing of getting caught up.
I'm gonna go sleep real hard, and then hopefully tomorrow I'm feeling like 100%.
Yeah. I'm hoping one more day will get you back in the swing of things. I know I saw you shouting out for your pal Missy Ganon to get to town, so you guys could play some practice rounds tomorrow and hit the course hard. So, we want to say, of course, thank you as always. We appreciate that you're able to, come back from the jet lag and all the excitement, get your practice in, and then still join us here so everybody can hear from you. It certainly was due, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Paige.
Well, good night, Paige. We'll see you in a couple days.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Paige Pierce. Sounds like she is just about hitting the proverbial wall of exhaustion and travel and everything else. Completely understandable.
And
keeping in mind
and hitting her stride on the course.
Yeah. Well, and keep in mind it is almost exactly 10 o'clock our time in the central time zone. They're just barely over the edge over there into the eastern time zone. So it's already actually 11 o'clock over there. So very much appreciate Paige's late night time here. I'm guessing that also, speaking of late night, things are probably just winding down, or maybe just winded down over at the AmWorld's Fly Mart. And real quickly, I just want to touch on the fact that the Fly Mart at all of our World Championships has easily become one of my favorite places to be and things to check out. When you go to a Worlds, they're very common. They allow a certain amount of vendors, and I just enjoy walking around because that's an opportunity for me to see the people that were maybe selling discs 20 years ago, or the new vendors that literally just got into the game 3 years ago as a vendor.
Or 3 months.
Or 3 months ago. And you see some of the, dare I say, crazy new products, Somebody's like, oh, I've got this disc that does this, or this new attachment, or this gizmo, or whatever.
And I remember a couple of years ago that someone had like a gyro ball that you held it and it like shook your hand. It was supposed to strengthen your wrist or something along those lines.
Yeah, both of mine. I'm like this all day. I just like that.
I feel like the Fly Mart. I have a mute button for you. I feel like the Fly Mart at the amateur events is always so much more fun than the pro events. Going to like your pro Worlds Fly Mart, it just doesn't have the same feel because the pros usually aren't in it to go through and kind of finger through discs and be like, oh, this is a cool stamp. They don't care.
Not as much. You're right.
As much. So they might, if they want a collectible disc or anything like that, they tend to have their own channels to go through. But the amateur events, when you see these, and it's always like the 13-year-old kids running around basically touching every piece of plastic in that particular hand sanitizer, guys. Get some hand sanitizer. Touching every piece of plastic in that Fly Mart. I love that. I do love going to that and seeing all of those really fun, cool things.
Well, so hopefully everybody enjoyed. I know, again, in talking to Double G a week or so ago at the Silver Cup, he said, we're going down to Kentucky to play in the Charlie Vettner, but then 2 days later, we're going to drive up to Pennsylvania just to be part of the Fly Mart, and then we're driving back to Kentucky to play in the Idlewild. And so he, was making it a huge priority to be there. I know Paul Macbeth ended up getting there tonight, and a number of our pros. And I know someone like Paige typically would find herself in that type of situation, but also with that travel, just decided it was probably best for her to get, right to Kentucky and try and get caught up right away. It's with all these world championships we have, it becomes kind of taxing because there's either 2 or 3 other worlds that you may be attending that you're not even playing in. And I think of Paige, who was just at the Junior Worlds. She left the Junior Worlds to go over to Europe shortly thereafter. And Am Worlds, Pro Masters Worlds, there's all these world championships that you could have some part of, even if you're only playing in, say, one of them. So touring life, a lot of people think it's amazing and glamorous and medallion stakes, but but it's not always. It's quite the grind, and I appreciate all of them that try and battle that out.
Well, let's take a break, and we're going to watch a review from Disc Golf Nerd on the Gatekeeper, and then we'll come back and talk about the MPO side of the European Open. How does that sound, Terry?
Great. We'll talk about that and other tournaments from around the country.
What's up, Smashies? This month we're taking a look at the West Side Discs Gatekeeper. This one is in the VIP plastic, same as Opto or Lucid plastic. It's one of my favorite plastic blends on the market, hands down. It's got bright colors, nice grip, a lot of durability. It holds up to a lot of abuse and holds those flight characteristics for a really long period of time. So if you're looking for a disc that will stay very similar to the way it is brand new off the shelf for a long period of time and take a long time to break in, the VIP Opto Lucid plastic is one of my favorite plastic blends on the market. The Gatekeeper is a little bit slower mid-range. It has a similar feel in the hand to something like a Truth or even a Compass, somewhere in between there, but it feels comfortable. I like the feel of it very much. The flight numbers are 4502. I would say I agree with those flight numbers. They're definitely pretty spot on from my testing. It is a slower mid-range, but that doesn't mean it doesn't get distance. It's actually a pretty far-flying mid-range as well. It will stand up and hold that line for quite a while, getting some really nice distance for a mid-range, especially given its speed. So if you're looking for something that's kind of in between a throwing putter and most mid-ranges in terms of speed, this is a great option for you to check out, and it's really nice and straight stable off the tee. It holds angles very well. You can throw it flat. It'll fly nice and flat and straight with a nice gentle fade. Once it starts to slow down, you can get it to hold a nice smooth hyzer all the way. That's probably what I liked it best for, a really nice smooth mid-range hyzer for approach shots or shorter holes. It works out really well. So if you're looking for a little bit slower mid-range, I think this could be a great option for you to check out. Maybe you like to throw putters and more slower discs on approach or off the tee, something really controllable and accurate, nice stability that can hold up to a full power throw but still have a good straight flight and a gentle fade at the end of the flight. I think the West Side Discs Gatekeeper would be an excellent option for you to look into. Somewhat more stable than the average Truth or Compass you might run into as far as I'm concerned, but really controllable, accurate disc that still pushes out there and gets really good distance. So that's my review on the West Side Discs Gatekeeper. Thank you so much to Smashbox for having me be a part of the show. Thanks to all you guys for your continued support. Head over to my YouTube channel if you'd like to check out the full review of this disc and over 200 others, plus tips and information, the Plastic Podcast, and lots of other disc golf related videos. Thanks for your support. I'll check you all very soon. Cheers.
Of course, thank you to Disc Golf Nerd for the review on the Gatekeeper. This was not planned ahead of time in any capacity, but I do know for a fact Paige Pierce is a huge fan of the Gatekeeper.
Really?
There was, we'll say, a secret special edition version released at Toonie, and I wasn't supposed to tell Paige about it, and needless to say, she's very excited because she thinks it's going to be exactly what she's looking for. She throws a Gatekeeper, but she's looking for a slight tweak to one, and apparently that was recently made available, even though she didn't have her hands on one. I know she is a huge fan, though, of the Gatekeeper. Again, thank you to Disc Golf Nerd. So,
well, the nerd sent that to me before last week's show, and we just didn't get around to getting to it, so having it this week worked out very well.
All right. Well, we've talked somewhat extensively about the FPO side. Glad to do so. Let's talk about the MPO side.
Some people are calling this maybe the best round of disc golf in 5 to 10 years.
Really?
Yes.
Round of disc golf?
Yes. Coverage.
Oh,
round.
Entertainment value-wise.
Yes,
clearly not score.
Not score-wise or play-wise. Entertainment value, just watching it and what kind of transpired. Because
really,
I'll say
so.
that
I should go watch it.
I watched it, and it was.
And what are you saying?
It was entertaining.
Not that I value your opinion much, but what are you saying?
You and I are so different in general, but
yes, very.
But neither of us really thrive on that post-production coverage. So I already knew the results. So for me, waiting to watch it happen, I was more consuming how it happened. Now, if you didn't, if you kept yourself, off social media and watched it, I can understand how it might be a little bit more exciting, because going into the round, I believe Paul McBeth was down by like 5 strokes.
He was down 5 to Wysocki.
And I think 4 to Eagle. And by like, I don't know, hole 7 or 9 or something, he had tied it up. It was a it was fun to watch because Macbeth was he didn't look really super dialed in. I saw him miss a putt or two that he probably should have hit. He threw one or two bad drives in those first couple holes, and he took pars for it. But Eagle struggled on a hole, took a bogey. Ricky missed it, couldn't get up and down, took some pars. And it was very, very quick before suddenly you realize that Macbeth is stalking you. He and once he got within striking distance, there was no stopping him. It felt like he just repeatedly outplayed them on that particular course. And coming from someone, Paul had said that there was an article, I think it was put up by Alta World, that more or less said before the fourth round, this is a 2-horse race between Ricky and Eagle, because Paul is 3 or 4 back.
Let me interrupt quickly and say, who would ever say that?
Me? I said it too to somebody. I said, here's the deal.
Oh yeah, I forgot what Paul's done in the last 10 years,
no.
and I'm not just being a Paul fanboy.
No.
Well, who would ever say that?
I never once considered him out. Here's what I thought. Paul's down by, we'll say 4 and 5 strokes. I assumed Paul was going to come out and shoot around a 10. He shot 10, 10, 3, and then I assumed it was going to be around a 10, a 9, 10, or 11. What I didn't expect was Ricky and Eagle to come out and shoot 3s.
Correct. A
2 and a 4. Like, my thought was, okay, cool. Paul's going to light up a good round, probably come in second.
But as long as one of the other ones have a decent round.
But putting 2 guys out there that both shot, they're both 1,040+ rated players.
Mm-hmm.
Having Eagle shoot 1,003, Ricky shoot a 987 rated round. You can't predict that. So for me to say, I didn't count Paul out. I didn't count him out. I didn't expect him to win, though. And by no means would I have expected him to win. I said that I thought one of the other 2 guys was going to win simply because you put Paul up against either one of them, particularly, it's a different story.
But the fact that you're saying he had to get past 2 people.
2 of the top 4. They're 3 of the top 4 players probably in the world.
I completely can get on board with that logic that not only did he essentially had to get past 2 hurdles, 2 very unlikely hurdles, as opposed to if you, and don't take this the wrong way, guys, but if you had, Ricky was beating him by 5, but then in second place beating him by 4 was
AJ Risley.
I was going to say that.
I know.
Love you, AJ.
We love you, AJ.
The point is...
How about this? Robert McCall.
Sure. There you go. We'll throw him in there. No, but just someone who is not the decorated, established, one of the best of all time superstars.
Multi-major winners, as they
correct.
both are, I believe.
Okay, so, again, I understand the logic that you in that case, he could get past the lesser decorated player, but he's also has to do that and get past the, and those are all... It's kind of like those crazy playoff situations where you're in the last few games of the season and you're like, well, this team needs to lose, but this team needs to win, but that other team needs to beat this team. Like there was kind of a number of things that you would think, wow, could all of that really happen? But to write an article to say that it's only a 2-horse race, I would challenge the guys over there. I'm glad they put together, it was a whole article. Like it wasn't just headlines and tweets.
Yes.
Okay, I missed it, so I'm really glad they did that. However,
I didn't actually read it.
Neither did I.
I read the headline.
But if there were words there, so I really appreciate that. But if you wrote that article, I could totally understand writing that article. But then you'd have to then say, yeah, I started following disc golf last week. Like with what Paul Macbeth has done in the last 5 years.
I don't think they said, and we're all speculating because we haven't read it, which is sad of us, that Paul is that Paul can't win. But they said that the focus is on those 2.
They said it was a 2-horse race.
It's a 2-horse race. Like those are the 2 guys that are, one of those 2 is probably going to win. And again, looking at the scores, I would have said that too. I don't think I would have put it on in an article personally. I just happened to chat it at somebody that was kind of my thought process, that I didn't think Paul could get over both of those particular players, but he did. He went, it didn't even feel like he went full on beast mode. He just played the beast like he plays it. He shot it 10 down, and the other two guys really fell back to him, is what it came down to.
All right. Well, this is fair to chime in since, again, we we don't claim to be real news here, but Darren LeMay has quoted something from the article. He said it was written by Chris Wickland.
Chris. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
He said he quotes here in the article, and I'm just going to read it from the board, so I hope Darren's copied and pasted correctly, saying, it's going to take a combination of something very special from Macbeth and something tragic from Wysocki and McMahon for this to be anything other than a 2-horse race at the top on the final day.
And ultimately, that's kind of what happened. You watched Ricky take, and it's hard to call them bad breaks. He threw bad shots.
Okay.
He caught early trees. He flipped over, he flipped over a disc maybe here or there. He got 1 or 2 bad rolls. And Eagle just, again, Eagle just didn't seem to be able to. I mean, Eagle took a lot of bogeys. Ricky had, a 6, a double bogey on hole 10, and a single bogey on hole 9, and it was over by 18, so I hardly even count that bogey that he took. But Ricky just didn't get the pars, or didn't get the birdies, and Eagle just took too many bogeys. And so ultimately, both of them found a different way to lose to Paul, who just kind of said, if you guys aren't going to take it, here, give me the reins, and went. And again, it's another fantastic showing by Paul McBeth at the European Open. I don't think that I would not want to be up by, me personally, 18 strokes on that guy with 18 to go. I would still lose easily
by 9.
By probably 9. And that,
yes,
just,
on that course, yes.
Yeah, it is a course that he just finds ways to win. Whether he just decides to come out and dominate, whether he decides that he's going to make it close. I just feel like he's there for the entertainment value at this point. He's so good. And his putting right now is so good. I don't know what happened in that 3 down, but it was definitely an anomaly.
Yeah, well, it nonetheless, of course, congratulations to him. It sounds like it was, of course, very exciting and a whirlwind. As we were saying, if you needed both of those guys to have an off day, both of them, as you're saying, and we all know top 2 out of 3 in the world, whatever, you have. 3 out of the top 3 players in the world, or all 3 of them the top 3, depending on which statistics you're looking at. I agree. Most people would not anticipate that. I wouldn't have bet my house, of course, on a Macbeth comeback, but I also
I wouldn't count him out. But if you gave me $50 and you said bet this on somebody, it wouldn't have been Paul.
Fair enough.
That's just going into that 4th round. So ultimately, Paul McBeth, as we said, comes back.
He won.
And wins by 2 strokes.
Spoiler
alert, Paul wins. Eagle McMahon shoots a 31 under par, losing by 2. Then Albert Tam, who is everybody's new favorite player, shoots a 30 under par, followed up by Ricky Wysocki's 30 under par. 5th place, Jeremy Colling. What a good showing by him in general. He kind of has been a little bit, I don't want to say off the scene, but off the top of the scene for a while. So congratulations, Jeremy, for a guy who has had all sorts of issues over the past few weeks. Comes out, throws in like an ace right out of the car or something along those lines at the Beast. Then, gets
an ace in tournament play.
Gets an ace in the tournament play.
Gets an ace
as well.
in warm up and then an ace in tournament play.
Yep. And then the star of the first round, Yessi Neminen, who ended up tied with Jeremy for 5th place. Austin Hannum in 7th place. 8th place, James Conrad. Tied for 9th place, we got KJ USA, Simon Lizotte, Mikael Rasanen, and Antti Kotilinen. And Eric Oakley. Eric Oakley. So, Eric Oakley. So congratulations to all you guys out there. The Beast was very much in play, and it just Paul wins again. I don't get. Honestly, some people are probably like, I get sick of hearing that. I don't get sick of saying it, especially when he does it like this. Paul wins again.
Well, and certainly of note too, Huge shout out. They were in fact, and I don't know as much on the MPO side. It doesn't discredit them in any shape or form, but a huge shout out in that they were getting the FPO coverage out, which was ultimately same day.
Technically same day.
And that's something
same
that I love.
Same day for us. I don't know if it was same day for them.
Yeah, I don't know. But either way, I love the concept. And it's manpower. And, of course, you need dedicated, smart manpower. But it's also manpower that they were clearly having people edit while play was still happening in order to get it edited together, to then have enough manpower for somebody to be doing a set of tasks while somebody else is working on another set of tasks, and then having someone like Paige and Nate Perkins be able to step in and then immediately hit the ground running to do the commentary on top of it. Like, that's just a well-oiled machine, and I'll say I'm envious. I'm envious of the product. I don't know how much I am envious of the
process.
The process. And I only say that because it's people. I mean, all of us that put out post-production content could get it out, in theory, in some form next day or same day if you doubled or tripled our resources. You literally need multiple editors doing things well before the round is even done. That's just the sheer economics of it. And most of our post-production crews just are not equipped in that manner, or I was going to say strapped in that form of cash or just availability. It's just not there. I think it may get there, but when you have that many people that are that dedicated with that kind of a budget, it's great. One thing you mentioned before going into the week, though, is what you feel like should be minimum requirements for either live and post.
I don't want to say requirements. I want to say expectations.
Okay. We ultimately saw is as much as I am more than happy to give all those accolades and that recognition for the super quick turnaround and the high production value that we got. Fair to say you're still could you or should you be disappointed we don't see chase card coverage?
Yes, a little bit.
Which would be saying 10 times louder if somebody came off the second card and made a legitimate run or won the thing.
If it was closer amongst the first card where, Ricky and Eagle didn't have 5 strokes on Paul, say they had 5 strokes, but Paul was in 5th place and the top of the second card. How badly would people be screaming right now if, Paul makes this comeback and we have, relatively cruddy coverage of it? Or one camera and, oh, look, we're gonna maybe cut some shots in of Paul and then, okay, we're gonna roll our cameras off on him on hole like 14 or 15. You'd be hearing, they would be stringing UC up right now with old tape reels and flogging him. It would be deafening, the internet roar. Now, thankfully, obviously none of that happened. And it's a good chance maybe UC had a backup plan in case something like that happened. Maybe he had another guy on, an editor that could have jumped on with a camera and done that. I don't know the behind the scenes. So ultimately, it's hard for us to judge that aspect. But it just feels like this is a major, and I don't want to dwell on this too much because I think we dwelled on it last week a little bit. This is a major, and we have other majors, A tiers, NTs, and Pro Tours that have better coverage than this. So it just, there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, okay.
But what I do want to say is everybody's new favorite player, Albert Tam. And why is he everyone's favorite player? Because of his new celebration, the bazooka. He hit like a 40-foot putt in front of this huge crowd, gets down and does the bazooka move. I love it. I truly do. I think we need more of it. And I don't want to get to a point. I kind of question, I'll say this. I questioned a little bit on a 40-footer.
Sure.
I think it was 40.
Like you drop in a circle, long circle 2 or definitely a circle 3.
Agreed. And I'll give him a pass because yeah, I think he's from Estonia, and he's just
And they shoot bazookas there?
no,
What's your-
no, just he's in front of what probably feels like a home crowd. I know it's in Finland, but ultimately there are so many people there, and he's the only non-American on that card.
Okay.
So giving him probably again, I don't know if there's any sort of bad blood between Finns and Estonians, but ultimately, but ultimately having that feeling of, you know, this is your home, whether it's truly your home or it just feels like that. Dropping in that big putt in front of everybody and then getting down and doing the bazooka. AJ Risley does a little bit. Ricky does it kind of with his raptor legs. But I think Ricky's is more natural. Like, he's just excited. He's running towards the basket, and he has a funny run. AJ's are a little bit more planned out, maybe sometimes to his detriment. He might be thinking too much about those as opposed to maybe the putts. I don't know, maybe.
Speaking of cannon, bazookas fired. Wow.
But
just keep shooting AJ right in the face.
I am going to. I love AJ.
Yeah,
But
sure.
But ultimately, I love this kind of enthusiasm. I love this a little bit of cockiness.
Sure. I mean, it's all entertainment value.
It completely
just like we see in the NFL.
Mhm.
The question always becomes, when is it too much?
And you're right, because it's a fine line. What one person looks at that and says, "Oh, that was pretty fun." There's another person that just kind of maybe says,
get out of the way. You made a 40-footer. I've got work to do here.
too much. I mean, ultimately,
Sure.
it was the longest putt of his round. Paul, I think, had 2 putts longer than that, and Paul gave the normal, his normal wave. You know,
Act like you've been there before.
act like you've been there before. But wouldn't it be fun, just maybe once in a while, to see, like, I'm just gonna say, Kevin Jones, who is a phenomenal circle 2 putter, hit it and maybe stare down another player as he goes and catches his just got the basket. Just a little bit of that would be fun for me. And I don't think we're gonna get it because a lot of these guys are friendly and they're gentlemen. But I do want a little. I think you add a little bit into that.
Yeah, and here's something, and I know I don't normally fully read off the board usually until after show, but here's what I find funny along those lines. Kurt on the board says right now, don't mind the celebration for a big putt. Don't enjoy the stuff the pros do during the flyovers, which to me, and a couple people have agreed, Ulysses and Garcia here, to me is funny because in theory that's what most I would say would be the opposite. Like, the flyover means nothing.
It's during a practice round, a day or two before.
They're probably out there goofing off. It doesn't impact anyone in any way. Someone dropping to their knee and firing a bazooka, like, hey,
he did it at the awards too. Just
again, I'm fully entertained by it, but could be seen as disrespectful, or could be seen as overly dramatic or overly celebratory. Someone could make those. So it's funny. It just proves how different we all are. It's great that, you know, you guys on the board are saying you don't want to see goofiness in a meaningless flyover, but some goofy fun celebration in the heat of the moment. Well, that's good, and you want it. So I'm just pointing out the differences. It's because when not to get too far off topic, when do any of those celebrations become too much of a distraction? And just to bring it up, look at Kat's rebuttal warning for Paige, hole 16 at the GBO. GBO, thank you. Sorry. And in excitement, Paige taps the basket. Avery Jenkins, I think, maybe started that 30 years ago, but Paige taps the basket with excitement as she retrieves her disc. At that point, in some frustration, Kat had said, you know, I'm giving you a warning for that. When do any of those start becoming a distraction to any other player? Now, I'll speak from Kat's perspective because I had this conversation with her at one point. She said, we all use the same tees and we all use the same baskets. Don't mess with either, which I think is a very good way to put it. Someone doing a bazooka isn't directly impacting you because he's not, so to speak, touching a piece of the equipment. So anyway, all perspectives, take it as you will. I'm in the middle of all of it as to my feelings on it. We'll see how they develop.
And I'll say this, it's the celebrations are really, I mean, they're hard to do anywhere other than the green because it would be weird to do that on the tee. Like you just throw this great drive, get down and bazooka when you're on the tee.
I mean, you throw a let's set it up.
The only way
450-foot shot that literally rolls around the pin and is underneath the basket. That sounds like
sure, that's great. But do you do it on the tee? Like you're watching,
yeah,
and then like you
the crowd erupts.
You get down on your knee and like do the bazooka on the tee. I think I might have a problem with.
Wow. Okay.
Like that's like
Okay.
kind of like Kat says, the tee is kind of a sacred area. Don't mess with it. You want to step off the tee, like you're walking, you need to step like 10 to 12 feet to the right to get a better angle. The crowd erupts, then maybe you get down and do that. I'm cool with that. Maybe not on the tee. Keep it off the tee.
Even if you're the last to tee?
Even if you're the last,
you're struggling. You are absolutely just bombing. You've been Bob for 16 holes. The 17th hole, the island green, you go for it, you stick it, you ace it. No, you just stick it. You don't ace it. I think almost all not all celebrations are off then, but you stick the island on a 400-foot island hole. You're underneath the basket after you've just bogeyed the previous 16 holes.
No, like I feel that way about even other professional sports when a team is down by like 4 touchdowns and maybe the wide receiver breaks out, catches a 50-yard touchdown with like 3 minutes to play in the fourth quarter, and he's out there and the whole team's out there doing a celebration dance that they practiced in practice. I think save it. Don't. It looks so silly to me to celebrate when you're down. Like, cool, I'm down by,
it was 4 touchdowns. Now we're down 3.
An unsurmountable thing, or we've just had the worst day. Albert Tam has had a great day in retrospect. He hits a big putt. He's kind of sort of making a move a little bit. I don't think he has a chance to catch the guys, but he's still playing well. I really liked the timing of it. I liked almost everything about it, but there's a time and a place, man. I don't want, again, I don't want to. If you're getting just hammered by the course, that would be tough for me. It would have to be an amazing miracle shot in order to, I think, show off, celebrate. You could celebrate, cheer, fist pump, high five your guys, but to do a celebration dance, that might be pushing it.
Okay, well now somewhere we have to write the rules on all of these.
Oh,
I think
the unwritten rules of disc golf.
Exactly.
We can ask Tommy, or no, I was almost gonna say Tommy Lasorda. My God, wrong coach. But yes, we could go and ask that. Someone says no, dabbing is not acceptable. You need to talk to Zach and Kobe about that, because let's go take a look back in the.
I think that's finally fading.
Books.
Anyway, okay, well. So cool to see, great to see, like you said, names, and as the board is saying, now here we are talking about said player. I don't think they did it so that we would be talking about them on the show that a few days later. It was, of course, something exciting, and you have to be out there, you have to be having fun. Mm-hmm. We all see both. We'll say we see very dramatic reactions from Simon all the time, whether it's a great shot or it's a horrible shot. Those seem to really connect with the fans, either at home or on site. Mm-hmm. And, we're an emotional sport, and everybody shows their emotions in different ways. And, when they do or don't cross the line, that will forever be subjective.
Yeah.
I mean, I think back to...
What's the best celebration dance we've seen? Is it the eagle elbow of the disc, the Paul Putter fold, which we've seen before, the Albert Tam bazooka, the Hammis camera slap? I mean, we've seen a lot.
Yeah, and some of those not in the best light. But then I think of a Nico. I think back to a few years ago, we captured Nico, good friend Rick.
You got the Nico stare down one time, so there, we've had it.
There's a Nico stare down. But no, I think of Nico getting an ace on hole 8 at Maple Hill, and very, very loudly and enthusiastically, let's go. I mean, he's jacked.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're not excited about an ace. The question becomes, when
does it become distracting for other people?
On a fairway next door, on the next fairway or not? Like, how loud can it be? How energized can it be? Those are all. Again, it's going to forever be subjective. We're never going to have a right or wrong answer there.
It's a play it by ear type of situation. It has to. There's so many variables that come into it for me at least, to say, okay, that was acceptable versus that was not. I mean, it's I don't know. Would be different if he if Tam turned right towards a player and bazookaed him. He just
tied someone. He just or pulled ahead of somebody by a stroke.
Literally pulled ahead of someone on hole 17 of the thing. He gets down and just points right at Eagle and just boom. And I mean, is that acceptable? I don't know. But I'd love to see it. Let's make it happen, Albert.
Or you step it up a notch. Just walking down a fairway, things are tight. And an eagle flies overhead, and he pretends like he's got a shotgun and shooting down the eagle. I
would have to come with a stare down, because otherwise I don't know if people.
Okay.
It,
I'm just saying.
Hey, these are all valid options and valid ideas.
Okay.
All right, let's go into another. Let's move off of this.
Who else had a celebration this weekend?
Celebrating this week, Tim Barham winning the Charlie Vettner Open over in LaGrange, Kentucky. So Tim shoots a 34 under par, besting Chris Dickerson, who I feel like he's had an off year, because we're not saying his name every single weekend. Besting him by 6 strokes. Alex Russell shoots a 27 under par. Noah Meintsma shoots 26, tied with Matt Oram. So congratulations to all the MPO players there. Going over to the FPO, Christine Jennings in a close one over Jessica Weiss. Christine shoots 14 over par. Jessica Weiss shoots a 16 over par. So congratulations to those women. Let's move over to the River City Open presented by Discraft. Wow, this is kind of interesting. It says River City Open Pro presented by Discraft July. I think that's a little mistake in the PDGA side. I think that July should probably be the month that we're playing it. But I'm going to read it just in case it's something I don't get. Grand Rapids, Michigan. In the open field, this is an A tier. We have Andrew Marweed, congratulations, winning by 1 stroke over Joel Freeman. A huge tie for 3rd place. We've got Martin Hendel, George Bino, Reed Frescura, Kyle Klein, and Ian T. Hamilton, all tied at 25 under par. So those are your open players, your open men. 10 in the open women field. So it's a pretty solid field. Liz Carr takes down the field, shooting a 6 under par, besting Lisa Fakis by 2 strokes, who shot 4 under par. Ellen Widboom shoots an even, and in 4th place, the last cash spot, Sandy Hendel shoots a 3 over par.
Awesome. Yeah, very cool to see. I know they were playing over at Riverside Park in Grand Rapids.
It's a course I want to get back to. It's been so many years since we've played there.
And it's varied since you've seen it.
I'm sure.
I was there a few years ago to take a disc in the...
this is the national anthem, Terry. Are we going to get in trouble here?
No. To take a disc between the knees while I was filming the Pro Masters doubles, divisional doubles for Pro Masters Worlds a couple years ago. And that was my first time returning there in 10 or 15 plus years, as I played there in the 97 AM Worlds, and seeing that course evolve and develop throughout the years. Great to be back. And I think AJ Risley's dad, Alan, joined him out in Grand Rapids, and they snapped a picture or two of some of the original object course that was there from the late 70s. So a lot of history. A lot of history, and awesome to see out there. And as you mentioned, congrats to all of them. I noticed how Kyle Klein, specifically, Kyle declined the money. We've seen him have an outstanding year. We've seen him competing and battling at the Next Gen Tour. Saw him at the D-Glow a few weeks ago. Interesting to see him, though, ultimately decline the at this event. So he's still retaining that amateur status. And I'm wondering if that's solely based on Next Gen finale at the end of the year, or what exactly his his game plan is. I should catch up with him. Super great kid that I've seen now a couple times around the country, and very much still one of the youngsters with a bright future.
Well, yeah, he's going to USDGC. I hope if he catches there, he doesn't decline it. I don't know.
I would hope so too. USDGC does come about a month before the Next Gen finale, if he's in fact interested in going to that as well, which this year they won't be giving away a car, but instead boatloads of other cash and other things, I believe. So, all right, Wow. Yeah, and I'm not sure if there's a collegiate component to that or not.
Yeah,
I know
it's
he
hard
is
to
right
say.
around that age. Anything else? Any quick touch bases on the amateur worlds taking place? And I don't want to read every single divisional leader just yet, but any quick updates or things that we saw from there today, or anything out of the ordinary?
Nothing out of the ordinary. We see that the highest rated player, Noah Osborne, is in the lead by 4 strokes over Casey Cox. So Noah and Casey, I believe, are 1-2 in the ratings. Noah is at 997 and Casey is at 987, tied with Sean Goddard at 987 as well. So right now we see that the leader is leading.
All right. Well, and then the only stat or number I'll give then, and we'll move up past it then, though, is reading right off the PDGA, stating that there are 13 amateur divisions comprised of nearly 702 competitors that are in York, Pennsylvania. They are representing 11 different countries, 43 different states and provinces. So awesome to see 700 competitors all over there in York. And I know I said it earlier in the show, but best of luck to everyone. I'm truly disheartened that I won't be watching our Am World Champion crown this year. This will be the first time in a number of years that I won't physically be there. We'll be there now at the Idlewild this weekend, so obviously the conflict exists, but yeah, a little saddened that I won't see our Am World Champions crown. So good luck to all of you men and women this week. I don't have much else there, Johnny.
Not a heck of a lot. I think we got a lot of our discussion done. I was just looking at the PDGA site, and I'm looking at new discs approved from companies I've never heard of. The Mjolnir from Synergy.
Well, they're not going to
Discs.
sponsor us that way, you jerk. Be nicer to them.
I'm just saying, I'm happy. This is awesome. The Sycamore from Above Ground Level.
Yeah, AGL, they have supported us.
Yep, I'm familiar with AGL and Above Ground Level, but I'd never heard of Synergy discs before this. But I do love the name, the Mjolnir, the big hammer, Thor's hammer. So I might have to pick one of them up
if you can.
If I can,
Hey-o.
yeah, it might just be stuck there. It's a good.
That's pretty smart for me. Who doesn't follow any of that stuff.
That's really good, Terry.
Wow.
I am impressed. You get an A for the class today.
Oh, wow. So good. All right, guys, we're going to close out the regular show. Of course, we then move into the after show where there may or may not be some disc golf topics. Usually there are a few. They'll sometimes be sprinkled in among other random non-disc golf related thoughts, ideas, tangents, whatever the case might be. We'll definitely tonight, I feel like, is a good night to touch a little bit on politics. And I'm totally kidding. We will not be talking.
We're talking politics and religion in the after show. Please be here.
Pull up your water cooler. We're ready to go. All right, for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, thank you guys for joining us. We want to thank Paige Pierce and Disc Golf Nerd. We appreciate your insights, your thoughts, and everything you guys both bring to us, both from Disc Golf Nerd and from Paige Pierce. Looking forward to an exciting this weekend at the Idlewild. Of course, the live coverage with Robert McCall and Dixon calling the shots from Emporia and Dynamic Disc. Johnny V. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. See you in the after show. Bye.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SmashBoxxTV podcast 257 After Show. Here we are. It's the after show. Glad you guys could join us. We just wrapped up the regular show. We had talked with Paige Pierce, and we also saw a Gatekeeper review by Disc Golf Nerd. Thank you to both of them. Lots of conversations surrounded, of course, the European Open, and a little insight into what we may or may not see or expect. Disc Golf Pro Tour moves into Idlewild this weekend, along with the AM World. So busy weekend in terms of large-scale disc golf events, having both world champions crowned. They're all going to be crowned on Saturday. And, of course, on Sunday is when Idlewild will be wrapping up. It is going to be 3 rounds. I believe it was just last year where Idlewild was rocked with those thunderstorms on the opening day. It created just a really challenging situation because some players had gone out and played or only played 1 or 2 holes, and so they had to come back and start their round at like 7 in the morning the next morning to wrap up their round and then try and get a whole nother round of golf in. Like it was a little bit of chaos. Hats off to everyone at Idlewild, to the event. There was no winning in that situation, just the storms that rolled through. I think there's still pictures out on the dgpt.com site of the storms that rolled through. I know it destroyed a lot of tents and some of our other equipment out there. It was just some nasty storms that rolled through. This weekend, on the other hand, I think we're looking at temps in the high 80s and what didn't appear to be any thunderstorms. Although, here's a question I do have for the general public or anyone in that area. What is going on down there? I did a little research.
Question.
Well, I just feel like things are a little busier than normal, albeit hotels or other things. It's somebody enlightened me that the closest thing with the 2 minutes of research I found, some form of a Grateful Dead show an hour and a half away. I don't think that would impact the greater Cincinnati or the southern Cincinnati area, since it was north of there.
Those Deadheads travel.
How about the Reds? Cincinnati Reds? Big crowds? No. I think 0. I think I saw a game earlier where there was 0 fans there. So I don't think it's them. I'm not really sure what it is. So maybe someone knows. All right. So in the after show, as always, a little quick disclaimer, may or may not involve disc golf, but also besides giving away free stuff, which is awesome
what we
if
love
you win,
to do.
and what we love to do. If it were up to me, I would just give everybody everything free every night. But Johnny says
I stop him.
Yep.
Every
Johnny
time I
stops me,
stop him.
so you can blame him. But besides all of that,
I will say this though. This is a direct
pat on your own back.
You could say it that way, or maybe it's throwing shade at other people. We've got the best Patreon. Like,
Oh yeah.
like as far as
Wait, what do you mean?
Weekly we give
Every week.
every week we do a drawing.
Every
we have
week.
our yearly collectible disc,
Yep.
and we've got a clothing level where you just get shirts like this every quarter if you're at a certain level. And I don't,
Lots of options.
I don't see no other people stepping up like that. Just saying. And I'm a Patreon supporter of a few of them, and I love them. But step up your game.
Maybe the other content providers just feel like we're going to give you less free stuff, but we're going to button things up 10 times quicker. So maybe that's their own gift. They say, we're not going to give
I'll
you.
give them that.
We're not going to drag things out for 4 hours a night.
Well, that's lame.
We're going to button things up, and that in itself is a reward.
That's lame.
It is. I do have an idea, and I've had lots of ideas,
Yeah.
some of which have been smart, some not so smart. I do have a really good idea for a tangent podcast, something that I'm really excited about, something I want to make happen, but something I've also said a dozen other times.
At least 2 or 3.
At least 2. And I'll go ahead and say,
But
I think
I'm-
a lot of my ideas have been good. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing them.
I was talking to my wife about this just the other day, and she's like, my daughter was babbling about something or other and saying, she's like, long story. My daughter goes, my friend has 2 podcasts. And I'm like, oh, really? Is that the case? She does she? She goes, yeah. I said, well, your daddy only has 1. And I'm like, I would love to have more. And then it brought up, my wife's like, really? I said, yeah. Like, I want to do Smashbox Unsanctioned. I want to do the game show. I want to do the nightly. I'm like, there's just not time during the summer to do them. That's something that I think we'll probably pick back up again in the winter when our players have more time, when we have more time, when golf kind of winds down a little bit. I'll probably start season 2 of, Smashbox Unsanctioned, and I'm going to make that more of a seasonal thing for those of you that are out there asking. But my wife's like, really? You'd want? I'm like, yes, I'd really want time because that's something I love to do. I enjoy these type of things. And it's just literally manpower and time. I've spent this particular week. I know I've told everybody about the project where I'm taking all the highlights and I'm labeling them so that I can easily find highlights in the future. So if I want to find all Macbeth Circle 2 putts from Idlewild, I can literally do it with a search. That anything that we've snagged is a highlight. So I've spent probably 8 to 10 hours this week at night doing that, like just going through footage, relabeling, getting the highest quality footage we can. I'm through like 3 events, but I've gone through FPO and MPO and just, you pull it into Premiere, cut them in, relabel them. It's time consuming. And my wife just yells at me. She's like, what are you doing down there? I'm like, nah, nothing. Listening to podcasts and books on tape while I do this. I enjoy it, but I just wish we had more time.
Well, I'm going to go as far as saying along those lines, I think I have the time. It's a matter of just sitting down and doing it. And I'm not even going to share the idea until I'm just doing it. I think that's become one of my problems. I read that somewhere many years ago that some people like me get really excited and I talk about my idea so much that at some point there's just a release of like, oh yeah, I accomplished that, when really I didn't. I just talked about it a lot and I think it's a good idea. However, I didn't actually do the task or complete the mission or whatever it was. This case, I just have to start doing it, and I think people will really enjoy it. It's just a matter of getting started and rolling with it. So I'll unsuspensefully just leave it there, I guess.
Sam Martin says he needs to talk about the shirt, that he had this shirt on because it was one of our Patreon supporters. And he had it on for the first time, and 2 different people asked him if it was a knockoff Superman shirt, because it does have the Smashbox.
If you get us sued,
they can't sue over just some colors and an S. I mean, that's our logo, but it's kind of funny because I guess if you don't know, you would look at it and go like, that's not the Superman S.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where did you get that? Like in New York on like an alley or something?
That guy really likes Suzuki,
Suzuki,
which is another
one that kind of looks like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I think what I'm going to do with this particular shirt is I want to order more of them and we can sell them. And maybe what I'll do is I'll take an order from people. I'll get general ideas of, hey, anybody that wants this. The first shirt we did was a Patreon exclusive. So I'm never going to reprint that one. That's the black one. It's actually right over there if you want to grab it and show everybody.
Not really.
Okay. It's got, or Patreon exclusive. It's got a microphone on and it says after show. I think we've done it before. I ordered 1 or 2 extra for myself personally, but for those of you that can see, no offense to the people who are blind, but
trust me, they're not offended right now.
I know. Yeah. Well, maybe they couldn't see me. So anyway, so this one I'll never print up. But this one right here, the one I'm wearing, the blue one with the red logo, I think I want to take an order. Spend 2 to 3 weeks, say, hey, who wants this? And then order a few extra from Miles at Paragon and get those out to people because Miles will ship them directly for us so we don't have to deal with that. So I think that could be fun. I just have to talk to Miles and figure out pricing.
And if that actually originates from a few months ago when I had run an event, everyone that had played in the event was eligible to receive one. I did a slightly different color scheme, but
you did gray and whitish.
Yeah, it was more of a different shade of blue. Is what it was, and
I see that looked great.
Get your colors right, bro.
I
can't remember the name
Kenosha?
of the color. I'd throw it in your face right now, but I don't remember the name of that color.
I have that shirt. It looks gray.
Sure, it might. It's not. No, it's not midnight. I don't remember what the name of it, but it is not
It looks like
technically gray. Or,
it looks like a dark gray, like you would see. Not any. I would never put blue in there, but I'm not denying that it's not a blue shirt, but it does not look blue by any means. Are you telling me it looks blue?
It's a dark blue.
Mm.
Like like almost a dark navy blue. Now I'm going to look it up just because I want to know what the exact color is,
right.
and then I think I have it anyway.
Anyway, so we'll do that. But you were talking. Sorry, I interrupted. Went off on our little tangent. You were talking about another podcast you were thinking about.
Yeah, and I've ended the conversation in that. I just need to do it. I think people will really enjoy it. It's it's not being done right now by anyone else, so I feel like it would be a little bit of an outlet for me, and I know that people would enjoy it. So I don't want to tell everyone, mainly because that will keep me hopefully motivated to just get it done.
There is a theory that a lot of people ascribe by that once you put it out into the world,
yeah,
that it actually decreases your reasoning, because what happens is you say, I have this great idea for whatever, whether it's a podcast or it's everything, and then you get all this feedback from people saying, oh, that is a great idea, that is a great idea. You have now taken not all, but you've taken a bunch of kudos for that, and your drive to do that then lessens.
Yeah, I said all this while you were
for having that.
I said all of that essentially while you were.
But there's an actual name
no,
for
I
that
know,
type
and
of syndrome.
I'm saying
something.
I talked about that. I said that's why I'm not sharing it, because then I feel like I've accomplished it. But you were paying attention to something else.
I was.
I've described all this.
I know, but there's an actual name for it.
Okay. Anyway, I'll let you move on from that. All right. So, no, it wasn't Midnight Blue. I'll look up the numbers. We'll get it all figured. I'll look up the name. Sam, however, on the board is saying a real Terry podcast / YouTube should be about TD small tournaments, how to get local sponsors, water, and all the ins and outs. I think there is a tutorial that should be published, and it certainly shouldn't be me unless you just want the angry tournament director perspective. But I do believe there should be a tutorial published by some of our really successful tournament directors as to what that secret sauce is. And I think a lot of them will ultimately say it's a lot of pounding of the pavement. You have to be ready to be declined and said no to over and over again. It's like any other, I feel like, sales position. You have to be willing, when you're running a tournament in your community, and you have to say, I'm going to take a letter or a write-up or an ad deck. I'm going to take that to 500 businesses in hopes that I get 5 of them to actually say yes. So I think that is the secret sauce, that it's just pounding the pavement and getting those people to do it. And I think you also have to be very careful that you don't overpromise these sponsors, because when you overpromise and you underdeliver, but you overpromise, you may get them that year. You may get them to give you $100 or $500 that year. But if you sold them a line of BS just to get $500 out of them, they're going to be a one and done sponsor. And I think that happens also a lot, is
overselling.
Yeah, just a lot of our tournament directors, want to say, well, I've got all this going on. There's 200 people coming to town. Well, guess what? 200 people aren't coming into your flower shop, to order a $60 bouquet that weekend, if ever. Like, you have to manage those expectations and be realistic. And I'll share something that I didn't fully develop or use enough. I feel like you need to reverse engineer their sponsorship. I'll be blunt with you. I don't care if you want to put my logo on the back of your t-shirt anymore. That's been done for 25 years, is getting a t-shirt for a tournament, and there's 93 logos on the back of it. And you're really going to add my logo to that? I don't care. I don't want that. That, as a sponsor of your event, that doesn't entice me. I may be throwing money at you just to throw money at you or to support it, or some company maybe. But to be one of 93 logos on the back of your t-shirt, to put me on your T-sign, Like, I think, and this will go for me as a video guy trying to also sell opportunities on my videos. I want to know what you feel like will make you happy. What do you want to see? And then I can gauge whether or not I think we can hit that mark. I mean, if you come to me and say, hey, Johnny V's Pizzeria would like to buy a virtual T-sign on next week's FBO coverage, and then you say, I'd like it to be seen by 60,000 people, I'd be like, well, that's not going to happen.
It will. It just takes 3 years.
Yeah, but essentially that's not going to happen. Like, you have to manage those expectations, but or you tell me, I want a digital coupon, or I want this, or I want that. Work with the individuals, and it takes a lot more time to customize something. But just to tell me, well, I'm going to put your logo on the back of my T-shirt. Everybody's going to get one.
I think that there is...
Some people will be excited. I'm not.
I think there is a market isn't... Maybe it is the right word, but what someone was saying before, maybe it's a 5-episode series of running an event. Everything from what you do beforehand, and whether it's a podcast or a YouTube series, like, here's how you prep before an event. Before I even announce that the event is happening, these are the things I want to have in place. I want to make sure that I have the course, reserved. I want to make sure I have all these things taken care of. And then there's the phase where, all right, I've announced it and I'm taking registrations. And you open it up under whatever registration service you want to use,
or is it tiered, or what's the refund policy? Like
there's and just literally you could have an episode, even if it's 5 minutes to 10 minutes, about all these things, and then you get into the registration is closed. Now what do I need to do? You could have a step on volunteers. How many volunteers do you need? Who can you talk to? Morning of, hey, this is the morning of. This is where I coordinate the volunteers, and we put out water here or this there, and then go all the way to this is how, awards, and then after awards, PDGA summary, like, hey, this is how I get the PDGA stuff done so quickly. I have this and this and this. I think there could be a 5 to 7 to 10 episode series that really truly lays out tournament directing in our sport.
I completely agree. I think it would be fun to do it, and it would be fun to pick the brains of some of our most successful events and or sought-out TDs, because they all, they of course have some similarities, but they all have their own little ways to do it. And it can get so specific as to, and I'll just throw my name in there in some generic ways, but it can get specific to, here's where I put my scorecards. I don't want the scorecards being turned into this table. I'd like them being turned into that table, because that set of volunteers is gonna double check the scores. Or here's where I'm gonna post things. Am I gonna be diligent and post it always on Facebook? Am I going to send out for a little while? There was a really big push that a number of events either paid for or had a free service that you could push out notifications, it's dating us a little, via text message. And that was, dare I say, revolutionary. Like, oh my God, I just got a text. It says, second round is at 1:30, or second round just got pushed back to 2:00. And everybody was getting a text with the major updates from the event on that weekend. That was, at one point, revolutionary, and it was awesome. Yeah, it was such a great way to spread the news.
You could do a whole slightly smaller side series with Bobby Brown talking about just like, hey, you guys are one of the only events with an app.
Mm-hmm.
How do you create the app? What do you do? I don't know if they'd even tell you, like, what's the cost on something like that? Why do you do it? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? I mean, there's a lot of avenues to really go down in this type of series. Now, Here's the thing. Neither you nor I are great video producers as far as putting together a documentary, and it's not really a documentary, but an instructional video and stuff like that, because I think that could tie into it, saying, all right, yeah, here is, look, the night before the event, I already have all of the cards laid out. I have all of this stuff taken care of. This is why I put certain players here on this course versus here. Take a look at your course. Maybe you don't want to put, the FPO right behind the Grandmasters right behind.
Sure.
And because you have a lot of...
there's a lot of those specific strategies.
In general, I think there is so much to be learned that new TDs... Now, TDs that have done this 5, 6, 7 times probably don't need this, but there's always that new guy that's stepping up that maybe doesn't have the support that he needs, or doesn't have the experience that is going to make these mistakes. And unfortunately, sometimes those little mistakes blow up into big mistakes on the internet. I can't believe, I came to this guy's event and I can't believe that he didn't do this, and this.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, things you maybe are accustomed to that a more experienced TD has. And sometimes they can be, I know I've said this before, and this is just one other minor pro tip. If I only have, for instance, there's been a few instances where I've had just one bathroom at an event. I'm a big fan of starting the women, which is usually only 1 or 2 cards. I attempt to start them so that about halfway through the round, they are at the bathroom. Like if that works out, and that's maybe that's 1 in 100 or 1 out of every 1 event you run in a year, but something like that. That's just the tiniest thing that could go a long way. And of course, women and men can go to the bathroom, have to go at any time. But knowing that, hey, at roughly the halfway point within a hole or two, they're going to be at the pavilion or the restrooms. Like if it's something that works out, that's one little tiny thing that I've learned throughout the years or strived for, if that makes sense.
That's a great tip.
So I will say also a few years ago, the PDGA reached out to me as I was developing more and more just content in a vlog style. They had said, it would be great if you could put together essentially a tutorial for just filling out the PDGA report. And here's the funny thing about that, because I was running a ton of tournaments and I had video experience. The funny thing is, if that was 5 years ago, that's 100% outdated now. I mean, it would have been great, and I still wish I would have done it. But now, to all of the credit of Disc Golf Scene and the PDGA, they have gotten it to a point intentionally that a tournament director can literally run a tournament from their cell phone now. I mean, they've structured it that way and geared it so it's that simple in terms of the tools and the resources that are available. And I can't say enough. Like, some of you who are newer to the game, you just have no idea what it was like 10 years ago, or worse, 20 years ago. Running a tournament was an entirely separate beast in almost every single way compared to what it is today. And you still have a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong. Just the tools and the resources. Getting scorecards, custom scorecards with what you wanted on them, you had to have practically like a graphic designer to make that happen 20 years ago. Like, or somebody that was really good in Excel or PowerPoint, and now a few clicks on Disc Golf Scene and you have your own custom scorecards. It's incredible.
Getting easier. So thanks, technology.
Yeah. Yes. And people like the PDGA who are recognizing and trying to push that forward and support that to make it easier.
This series would have been great 10 to 15 years ago when, like, okay, so today's the final day of tournament registration. I'm expecting 37 entries from the people who wait to the last minute.
Yeah.
And look, I have 33 spots. Oh, this guy, I don't like him, so I definitely got his last.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's gonna be on the waiting list. Oh, this guy's.
I lost this guy's in the mail.
This
actually.
guy's clearly didn't get here. Wink, wink. This guy I really don't care too much for, so I'm gonna make him play with these other people I don't care for, and they're gonna put them far away from me on the course. There was a lot of tips I used to hear from you.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to go about a lot of ways to skin a cat, so to speak.
Now with digital waiting lists, it's really hard to pull some of that stuff off.
Yeah,
you can still do
it.
You'd
be surprised. Real quick, speaking of old school, new school, whatever you want to call it, Paige Schultz, I almost said Paige Pierce, Paige Schultz and Barry Schultz are in Wisconsin. If you're in the area, they've been here. They're calling it a honeymoon tour. It's the first time Barry has really spent a lengthy amount of time in Wisconsin since moving away a number of years ago. Mm-hmm. So him and his newlywed bride from back in last November, they're up here spending, I think it's more than a full month here. So check that out. I think you can find them under the other champ on Facebook, but they've got an entire itinerary.
He's got a computer now?
I think his wife runs it.
Okay.
But they're doing free clinics. I know they've been in Milwaukee a few times. They've been up in Sheboygan. They were in Manitowoc where the A-tier just took place. So if you want to learn the smooth throws and techniques of
so smooth,
one of the best players on the planet, Barry Schultz is in fact in the Wisconsin vicinity right now. So.
True story. I was in a fantasy football league with Barry Schultz, and he had to drop out and quit because his computer broke like 15 years ago, and he was just like, "Yeah, nope." We're literally in the middle of a draft. Something happened, and the site had crashed. We were on some cruddy old site, and his computer, like, Barry, between the time that we could start up the draft the next day because everything had to be rescheduled. His computer crashed and broke, and he's just like, you know what, guys, I'm not going to bother getting this thing fixed. I'm just out. Thanks. I'm not going to have a computer for a few weeks or months, and I don't, that's it. And so we were kind of like, okay, thanks, Barry.
Okay. I guess that's one way to withdraw yourself from a draft.
That is one way.
Have your computer break.
I got a good kick out of that back then.
Out on the board, as Johnny's getting our stuff ready for the Patreon giveaway. Out on the board,
ready.
A few questions that I will entertain. 012 Productions asks, will any camera crews be covering the Mad City Open? All I can say to that is I am unsure. I know that Smashbox nor Disc Golf Guy, I guess I can't speak for Central Coast. I don't know that for a fact, but I would assume they're not going to be there. And I know Jomez will not be there. But I have no idea what their plans are. I myself will be with my two children, my two girls, at the Rocky Mountain Women's, which I'm super excited to be covering and having them play in.
I see a question from Ray. Asks, not to throw shade, but what's up with the disc golf metrics? I remember an article in Ultra World where UC was saying he felt that TGM was better option for live scoring. I've had a discussion with a couple guys overseas about metrics versus UDisc, and they're big fans of disc golf metrics.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of an all-encompassing app or web app, so to speak. It does a ton of other things. I mean, it'll organize leagues for you. It does things that UDisc is probably years away from doing. But in the US, where there tends to be more players, we don't use metrics. We haven't. There's just never been a push for it. And so UDisc picked up a very big following, rightfully so, because it's a phenomenal app and it works out very well for keeping score and finding courses now, or finding courses first and keeping score now, so to speak. And I think UC saw that and just kind of realized, hey, this seems to be more popular with a larger crowd, so I'm going to use this here at the European Open. Because I was a little shocked myself when it was first announced that they weren't going to use metrics.
Well, and I see Yuha is on the board who just ran the largest competitor-based or largest competition-wise event, being the Toonie a few weeks ago that I was at. So I've asked him a few questions on the board. I'm interested to see what he says about advantages or disadvantages. As we said, metrics everywhere outside the U.S. It is not web. It is web-based, but it is not a standalone app. Which, of course, as you know more than anyone, has its pros and cons to that component. What I would love to know is, here's what I'll say. When being in Australia as well a few months ago, players were very apt to enter in their scores and use metrics as the round was going along. Like, it was very I don't want to say contained, but it was just very commonplace. And I don't know if that's been culture of just the live scoring for themselves, and it's not been a big deal. Whereas when UDisc came along and started doing the scoring, really the debut of the live UDisc scoring was with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and that
Maple Hill
solely focused on MPO and FPO, and has done nothing but evolve and continue to grow and expand since then. Of course, the bases are very different for who's using. I mean, metrics can be used by anyone for anything at any time for your live scoring.
Yep, you can sign up for free right on their website. I have an account myself because I'd signed up a while ago when I was messing around with it, and they do have a paid option where it gives you more detailed statistics. But like a lot of people are saying, it's not as user friendly as UDisc is. UDisc has a very nice integrated app where it's very simple to keep your scores and the scores of everyone on your card. Metrics isn't quite as easy, but as Terry was saying, metrics is a web app, which means you need web connection. You can't go into an area where your cell signal is garbage and expect to continue to keep score. So having the app itself tends to work out better. Now, the downside is that for an app, thankfully, we only have really 2 different operating systems we're working with, iPhone, iOS, and Android. So, but UDisc needs to keep both of those up to date. They're working on 2 different platforms. A web app is just a web app. You can get onto it from any device. So there's the natural advantage to Metrics.
Yeah, well, knowing that Metrics right now has the users that are right now internationally are so much more. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. They're just so much more accustomed to entering it themselves and having it work and integrated to all of their scoring systems. Nothing more than just as an observer, it'll be interesting to see as the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know if there will continue to be 2 separate apps that just thrive, where one is more US based versus one that is everywhere else, or if I'll say one or the other somehow infiltrates and has a stronger holding in the other's territory. I guess we'll see. I think UDisc will continue to expand their capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people are talking right now how Metrics, the advantage that they have is that they can be an entire registration system, and they're an entire tournament management system right now. I think it's fair to say UDisc will likely evolve.
They'll go there eventually. Some of the things I do like about Metrics, and again, being part of this kind of group overseas, you'll see one guy just say like, hey, I'm going out for a league, follow my scores. And you can literally follow hole by hole while he does it. So you're like, oh, dude, and you'll be chatting and he'll be on the chat board. He's like, yeah, I just took a 5 on this par 3. No way, I hit and roll or whatever. Bummer. That's not something you can do with UDisc yet. I'm fairly certain that's the way they're going to go, but I think that's really cool that if I go out for a casual round, I could just, hit a tweet and say, hey, here's a link to my live scoring. Watch me go through a league, or watch me score this practice round. And people could literally follow you. And I know Metrics does its own, more or less, rating. You get a Metrics rating as well, which is based solely off the course and not the players you're playing against. And they use like history, and there's this whole big formula, I guess, on it. But it's much more standardized versus, oh, hey, guess what? The top 20 players in MPO shot 5 down, and Johnny V shot 3 down. So my rating is either going to bring theirs down, or theirs is going to elevate mine. There's less of that, I will say, based on the course. So some people really love it, and some people don't.
Well, either way, I guess we got good problems to have when we are debating.
Apps.
Yeah, when we have 2 great apps that are out there and available, or 2 resources that are available. One other thing though that we've seen from the UDisc perspective is as they're teaming up with various entities, tours, and ideas, they're available. For their custom scoring, which was quite a bit of work to make the President's Cup scoring work the way that it did. The United States Match Play Championships, skins matches. There's so many other things that involve all of this specific customization that's what's making them, I think, going to be a little bit
marksman leagues.
Yes, the marksman league is another really good example of the specific things that they're doing to be integrated into some of these other non-traditional stroke play events. So all very, very cool to see.
The other thing a lot of people are talking about right now is at the end of the European Open, we saw Paul do an interview with Steve Hill, and in the background, you see Eagle giving away his bag. He's standing there with a big smile on his face. It wasn't like some people had said, was he pouting and getting? No, he was very signing discs, and there's a crowd around him, and he's kind of taking discs out of the bag one at a time and handing them or chucking them around. And just then at one point he gets down to, I think he threw a whale sack out there for somebody. At one point he looks at the bag and he just goes, this isn't going to be good. And he just chucks the bag up over his head and lets somebody go and grab it. But there, we've seen in the past, and it's funny because Steve Hill even mentions to Paul, like, oh, it looks like Eagle's giving away his bag. And Paul, like this, says, that seems like a very Discmania thing to do. like throwing just a touch of shade because we've seen Eagle give away his bag in the past. We've seen Simon give away his bag twice now, I believe. But ultimately, this particular instance really did seem more like a fan-friendly.
Oh, yeah.
Let's, hey, there's all these people here. This is a really cool thing. Plus, maybe he just didn't want to bring it back. Maybe he was making room for other things to bring back overseas. But it was a lot of fan action. He's signing discs. I thought it was a really great gesture.
I think it's incredible. I mean, anyone that really is serious about their game, yes, you could say, well, you've got backups and you know how everything else flies. But usually it takes a little bit of time to get to know your specific discs, whether that's a week or a month or 6 months, whatever it is, to break in and get discs to a certain degree. And it's great that he feels like he can just pick up other discs and then, start fresh. Whether that's a testament to him and or Discmania, that's all great. Consistency. However, it is a very bold gesture nonetheless to turn around and hand those off.
I don't believe he's playing in Idlewild, is he?
Does not. I don't. I know Paul is not.
Paul is not.
Yeah, so maybe real quick, touch on who we're going to see. If you maybe I would click on the PDGA version so you can quickly more easily search by player ratings.
I'm fairly certain he's not, because I thought I saw Ricky was the highest rated. Yeah, so Ricky, Calvin, Chris Dickerson, Kevin Jones, Conrad, Oram, Anthon. Are we going to really see Anthon there?
I've given some great pro tips tonight, and one of them would be who wouldn't bet on it.
Okay,
but I have.
You haven't talked to him, but Josh. This is the type of event where maybe Josh signed up for the Pro Tour in advance all the way through. He's not extremely reliable when it comes to hitting these events lately. But I will say, going back to the Eagle situation, Eagle has how many? Basically 3 full weeks before Worlds. And I think he is going to have no problem if he has to break in any plastic doing that. I don't believe Eagle is the type that usually throws a lot of broken in plastic, so it might be a quicker transition for him. One of the nice things about being a top level sponsored pro, as we've seen with Paul Macbeth, more or less working in new putters almost every event, is that you don't have to have the sacred cows.
Yeah,
you don't have that disc that you look at when you walk up to a water hole and go, should I throw this? I might never see it again. Most of these guys don't hesitate, because if very, very infrequently do they have a disc that they just it is worked in and it is their baby. They use these discs as tools, and you should be able to just get a new tool if yours goes missing or breaks or splashes in the water. Now Paul is a little different. He has a few. He likes to work in his plastic a little bit more. Some discs now. Paul usually has a few particular discs of varying degrees, so he can kind of fall back on another one if one goes awry.
All right, so I need to make a little extra side cash, and is it of any value to anyone out there to know definitely if Josh is or is not attending this weekend? Is there enough money in our sport to pay for that insider information? Because I have official confirmation.
I'm going to go that he's not going to be there. Well, actually, you know what? With it being this close to Worlds, he might be warming up to get there.
Well, I just sent him a text moments ago. He replied instantly, and I do have an answer. We're going to tease that one out, or you're going to grease my palms with.
I'm not. I don't really care that
much.
No,
yes, pay me.
Speaking of making money on the side in the sport, we had a conversation. I think it was last week or the week before about getting our sport into Vegas gambling odds.
Let's do it.
I reached out to my contact, and he responded with this. He said, this is something that we don't offer. It would take someone familiar with the players and the courses. It would take us multiple hours of research and setup for PGA events, and those are with known players, known courses, limited variables, and decades worth of info for algorithms. To do it for disc golf would probably be a lot of work for what I'm guessing would be very little return.
That's the definition of disc golf.
I don't even think that is something that offshore books offer. And to be fair, I said we have seen this in a few offshore books in the past. It pops up randomly. But ultimately, that was his response as to why there isn't the thing. There's not the history that like there is for particular courses yet. There isn't the statistics. Just now we are getting a lot of these statistics for our courses, for our players. Only in the last 3 to 4 years since UDisc can we really have tangible statistics. And I think it will take quite a few more years before Vegas or a true betting system will be able to come out confidently with probably the numbers that some people may want to throw down.
Well, yeah. No, but really, I want to bet my $29 this weekend. It's just burning a hole in my pocket. I really need to bet it. Yeah. Luke Butch, who has, I was going to say dabbled, but who has been a professional poker player, is on the board, coming in from Thailand, I'm assuming. Luke says exactly, backing up your point, and then he said a team of super experienced poker players did this for poker tournaments. They set up their own website, etc. And then he said, it's doable, but no money in it. Mm-hmm. And again, that sounds like a
honestly,
tagline to disc golf.
How many thousands of dollars would probably, only thousands of dollars would probably bet on something like that, where the risk is too great probably for any sort of reward.
Yeah. So, when I was in Vegas earlier this year, that a particular gentleman all but jumped on my back to then shove his stats and papers down my throat, and I thought it was all great that he definitely would have been on the forefront of leading that team, but until we have him and then 63 other Chuck Kennedys to join him, it's not there. Along with UDisc backing all of those stats, I just don't see it there. So,
well, let's get into our Patreon giveaway for the week.
Yeah,
there were 2 people that actually signed up on our.
They sent in a self-addressed stamped envelope.
Yes, the SASE.
No purchase necessary. And side note, before Johnny reads it, Anthony Barella, change your Facebook password. You've been hacked. Okay, move on.
Are you sure it's Anthony Barella, or is it someone who signed up with Anthony Barella's name?
No, it's Anthony Barella. Sent me a private message, which is clearly a Facebook hacking of sorts. It's a pretty common one. But anyway,
sure.
That's a side note.
2-factor authentication, people. Look into it for everything. Anyway, if you would like to be eligible for our weekly giveaway, you can sign up some website. And also go to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV, where you can be automatically entered into this weekly giveaway. This week we have 202 people in our list. So I'm going to pull up my random number generator here. Terry?
There you are.
202 people. What number do you want to give us?
It's the second World Championships are taking place this week of the year. So we're going to go. We saw the Junior Worlds. We're at AM Worlds, so we're going to go with the second number generated. And there's 202s. I mean, it's all
37 is the first. 89 is the second. Let's go to 89. It is Joshua Montano.
That's a new name.
Joshua Montano.
Who has never won something from us before, ever. So Joshua Montano. That's awesome to hear. Do we know? Is it something I'm gathering up for him? I've got an idea.
Actually, if you want. Otherwise, we have that box that's right behind you.
All right, Joshua, you get the box.
You get the box. That is the disc member box, I believe, for last month. That is a an over $40 value, depending on what you want to.
Watch how you say that. Give me that pen.
Here you go. From disc member, and if you would like to get or be a disc member supporter in themselves, you can sign up for their monthly service. It's about $25, and you get more than $40 worth of value every month in usually a disc and like a T-shirt, a hat, some stickers, maybe a whale sack, depending on what. There's all sorts of UDisc subscription usually, discstore.com or disc member. Let them know that we sent you.
Yes. They'll give you an extra special hug. I think somebody was on the board saying that they've only received a Disc Golf Guy handshake, and if you need to upgrade that to a hug, those will be available as early as Idlewild.
Best to get it early in the day before he's sweat through everything by the end of the day.
Hopefully that doesn't happen this weekend.
I'm guessing it will.
Dan Harbeck says he wants to get signed up right now. Dan, I believe you're already eligible because you support us at the Patreon level of $1 or more, and that's all it takes to be eligible for these giveaways. Is you are a supporter?
Yes, Dan Harbeck, you are a supporter
of $1 or more. That's all that it takes. It's really that simple to be eligible. We gave away when we did the math, it was somewhere around $38,000 in stuff last year, give or take $37,000.
No, I mean we gave away a couple $1,000s worth of stuff.
Yeah,
but ultimately.
But anyway, seriously, $1 Patreon support level is all it takes to make yourself eligible for our weekly giveaways. And Johnny just said this disc member box is worth at least $500.
No, I did not say that.
Or give or take 450 of that, 460 of that.
There you go. Thank you.
These damn legalese on our show, I tell you.
Numbers, I know. The numbers get you, Terry. The numbers get you.
All right. As I'm checking out the board, I'd love to know if you guys have any questions. The other one other quick shout out I want to give. I saw a lot of posts from social media, and it's really no surprise that one of our co-commentators that we've seen in the past, Pete Ulibarri, ran Top of the Pines this weekend. Huge shout out to Pete and the crew out there. It looks like everyone had a really good time and a very successful event a couple hours north of Phoenix. So very, very cool to see, and nice work up there. Cobia fan says, I'm a few minutes behind, but no conversation about Paul's comments about Discmania. I think maybe, I don't know how far behind you are in our conversation, but Johnny did touch on that briefly about Eagle giving away his bag, if that's what you're referencing.
Making a joke that it sounds like a Discmania thing.
Exactly. I'm trying to think if we saw anything else. Let's go totally off the grid. Did you happen to notice, not off the grid, but off the tangent, disc golf tangent, did you happen to hear or notice or care about the backlash that the greatest of all time, we'll call him, football player, Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback, one of the greatest, whatever you want to say, him and jumping off of the ledge with his daughter into a waterfall? Did you see the video?
I did not watch the video. I heard a little something about how he was supposed to jump off with his daughter and then he jumped and she didn't or something.
Yeah, she was hesitant. He said basically like 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3. After he checked with her a couple times, he said, "Are you ready? You want to jump?" Blah blah blah. She was all gung ho, and then you couldn't tell if she was fully backing out or if she just missed the count by 1. But either way, he basically said 1, 2, 3, jump. He goes to commit to jump fully, and she kind of hesitates, and then he was holding on to her hand. I think she's 6. He was holding on to her hand, and he basically pulled her along with him, and then not so gracefully, they entered into the waterfall pool area, and there was a lot of backlash, parenting backlash, injury backlash, those types of conversations. And it seemed like it was a big deal. I didn't know if you caught that. So you saw the headline, but not the video.
I saw the headline. I didn't know exactly what happened. Don't care.
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, parenting is parenting. Everybody's going to do it differently. That is such a no. There's so many things that you could assume, and no, that's just whatever. I mean, I ain't got no.
Fair enough.
I ain't got no issue with that.
Also, we'll go with other news. Paul Ulibarri, we wish him a quick and speedy recovery. I believe it was back on Friday is when he did, in fact, undergo surgery. I haven't heard any updates to that, so I'm going to assume that everything is moving through just fine and dandy, so to speak. But yeah, Paul had undergone his surgery on Friday. We saw Ricky Wysocki wishing him a quick and speedy recovery, and his mom, and of course such an outpouring, and we can't say it enough here as well. Everybody wants to see a quick and speedy recovery for Paul Ulibarri for sure.
I was telling Darren LeMay that maybe one of Brady's rings got caught on his daughter, which is why she came in with him. That's yeah. A couple other things we saw this weekend, if you want to go full nerd.
No.
Comic-Con
was
this weekend, where they tend to announce a lot of things. The new Picard trailer looked freaking great.
Oh my gosh, if I only knew what that was.
Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
Looked great.
I'll sit here and nod.
All
Keep
right,
going.
good. The Marvel Phase 4 that they announced.
Oh my gosh.
All of the movies and some of the TV series.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
They announced like the next 2 years worth of movies. 2.5. Looks awesome. I'm excited for all of them.
Is Ryan Gosling in any of them?
Not yet.
Mary Kate, Ashley Olsen.
Not yet.
All right, then I don't care. Move on.
Those are your three right there. Ryan Gosling and the Olsen twins. Wow. I think that's a good, deep look into Terry's mind.
I mean, clearly.
I mean,
I did take in Passport to Paris with my daughters this weekend, and that was a gem.
I watched, my wife and I got through Stranger Things season 3. It was decent. It was, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, like if season 1 was, right up there with almost a 10, season 3 was like a 6.5 to a 7. It was good enough. So, but ultimately there's a lot of pretty cool things, as far as the Nerd Fest goes that look like it's coming out.
Is that always in like San Diego or
It's always
California?
in San Diego every year. It's the San Diego Comic-Con. It is the biggest of all of the Comic-Cons. There's a New York, there's a Chicago. Those are the other two that usually tend to get bigger numbers. I know there's a few other slightly smaller ones in some other areas of the country, but I think the big three are New York, San Diego, and Chicago.
Darren out on the board says he saw Lion King today. Same damn movie, different voices, somehow 30 minutes longer.
I've heard. It's funny.
It crushed box office, right?
It did.
Okay.
It crushed.
Which is so surprising to me. But anyway, what do I know?
It's funny because I heard two different takes on this movie. I heard one gentleman basically say he hated it and that he was expecting something different and that like it was almost an exact recreation of The Lion King, like right down to the scene. Whereas opposed to like Aladdin, they added different things. It was the same story. They added different things. The Jungle Book was a very different thing. But he went there and it's like, yeah, it's other than, I think he said Timon and Pumbaa. It was, he's like, I felt like he's like, I just hated it. I hated it, whatever. And there's another gentleman who's seen the cartoon as well. He says he loved it. That's exactly what he was expecting. He was expecting a shot-for-shot remake almost of it. And it was a really funny because they had basically the same take on it, but just really different perspectives on whether they liked it or not. The big discussion was, if you take a step back from the movie, there is, I thought this was a good point, there was a theme that apparently, Simba, who was born to be king and stepped away, didn't want to be king, wanted to live a carefree lifestyle, gets pulled back into being a king, and that you are born into your position. You cannot move in your position. If you look at it that way, the movie is horrible. It's awful. And that, guess what? You're born poor. You're going to stay poor. You're born rich king. You're going to stay a rich king. There's no
damn lion privilege we keep talking about.
I know there's that lion privilege. And that he was like, if you really step back and then somebody's like, no, maybe you could look at it like it was a movie about responsibility. Nobody could take down Scar other than the king. And someone's like, and then he got in this big discussion about whether or not you're like, no, let's make it a female empowerment movie. Let's have all the women lions like take and get rid of Scar. And it was a very funny and somewhat serious discussion about the true politics behind the movie The Lion King. The stuff that clearly the movie doesn't really ever touch on. It's all, if you take a bigger look at the movie.
Well,
I got a kick out of it.
And to your point though, and to be fair, there is nothing we can't politicize if we really want to. I mean, correct. Just every single thing, from the color of the shirts, that you ordered to the ones that I ordered, like somehow we could politicize just about everything on the planet if we really, really wanted to dig into it. Disc Baron, thank you for all your support. Have a good night. I know you're an hour ahead of us even, so have a good night over there in Michigan. Everyone could check out Disc Baron. We appreciate all of their support.
Most certainly.
That they give us and the entire disc golf community shared about. Ronald Harkey is calling you out, Johnny. He's saying that he thought it was as good as the first season, talking about Stranger Things.
I disagree. That's pretty... I mean,
and you have a microphone and he doesn't. So
that's right. If you would have not mentioned it, I would have always been right because everyone would have listened to me and no one would have heard his opinion. I'll say this. I thought some of the decisions that were made were a little obvious as far as the plot goes. And I kind of feel like I'm trying to say this without being spoily. They took too long to make the phone call that they made at the end. And it was kind of like, really, now is when you're doing this? Like, not before then? It felt a little bit funny at times. Overall, I thought it was good. Again, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to not watch it. They've got me hooked. I'm going to go to season 4 and be really excited when it comes out. I didn't think it was quite as good as season 1.
So this is a Smashbox exclusive. Doug Bierkes, who we spoke with last week, has sent me a private message telling me to check out the messages on Facebook, which we largely ignore, as many of you know. Instead, we usually follow along the YouTube chat, but now I'm heading over to our Facebook chat, where he is talking about, I see here he earlier posted in reference, ironically, we have a florist in Emporia who gets about 10 flower orders after the GBO as a thank you to the Airbnb host who put the folks up that week.
That is a phenomenal.
That is very good. But he must have posted a few other things because he talks about a Patreon offer waiting, and I'm trying to understand exactly what he's referencing. So, Doug, we're gonna either you'll have to message me and be very concise here. No one claimed we're smart, so if you're hinting or getting at something, we just want to make sure that we're following along with you.
The other thing here, I'm trying to. I'm trying to look at. There we go. Maybe that's how it's done.
Okay. So now he has spelled it out, and he said, "I've been commenting via my phone on your broadcast, calling you out on your Reds comment. Not sure if you follow the comments because I said there was no one at the Reds game. So I'll take full. I'm just saying. I want to say they're playing. I don't know if it was the Brewers or the Cubs. They're playing somebody. And I could have swore they panned to the crowd of 0 is what I thought I saw. That's all. So maybe they've turned it around. Maybe not. Sorry, Doug. Disc Golf Nerd has a shameless plug. I will be doing a pretty solid giveaway very soon for surpassing 7,000 subscribers.
Fantastic. Let's get on that, everybody. Go check out Disc Golf Nerd on YouTube.
Robert is now on the board. Man, that guy's a late night guy. I don't know if he's just stumbling in from the bars or what, but
yeah, that's Robert.
But Robert McCall is out on the board. Says, "Respect the glasses game, brethren." I'm not gonna lie, Robert. I took out my contacts today. I had my glasses on for a little while, which I rarely wear.
They're fogging up your glasses.
They fog up a lot. I don't really like them, and they also, when I see things, they skew my vision. Yeah, I need new ones.
Yeah, that too.
And then I did think, well, we are talking about Robert and Dixon doing the broadcast this weekend. It just feels fitting that I'm gonna go glasses tonight. So bold move on my part, but maybe not.
Not really.
Yeah, see, good. He confirms. He says, "Yeah, I'm totally hammered." He says it himself, folks.
Okay, I don't believe it. Prove it, Robert. Looking forward to having both those guys on the broadcast. It'll be fun. I worked with Bobby a little bit today to get some things set up, and we're hoping everything should be all set by Thursday, and then Friday we'll just roll in Friday morning. Our normal time, I believe 9:30 is when the women are going to tee off at. I'll have to double check because it started out as 9:30 early in the year, and then it moved to 9, and then it was 8:30 for a while. So
yeah, now we're on East Coast time. So I mean, you're talking in terms of local time.
I'm talking local time.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, whether that's 9 or 9:30.
I don't.
Another quick side note. I know somebody asked about it on the board earlier. Disc Golf Pro Tour with a massive virtual wall box giveaway yesterday. I think they had 100 boxes of stuff to give away. They sold out all 100 boxes at $50 a box, but they sold out all 100 boxes within a few hours. I know they're giving away Zuka carts. They were giving away Keen shoes. They gave away a ton of Night Eyes light up discs. They also gave away at least 20 $100 gift certificates for Disc Golf Pro Tour merchandise. So very crazy to see it all taking place. So, Doug confirms, quick update, I will become a Patreon if you update Reds Brewers game tonight. Ooh. Yeah, I know the Reds are playing here in Milwaukee. I think I have a few friends at the game.
Nope. I don't know what's going on in that game.
I think I know where you're going with that.
Yes.
It does look like the Reds.
The Brewers are taking one in the teeth.
Wait, I'm confused. Am I reading their runs for this game or their wins for the year? Okay, no. It looks like the Cincinnati Reds did in fact clobber the Milwaukee Brewers, which I'm good with saying. I'm not a Brewers fan. They clobbered them 14-6 tonight.
That is a rough outing.
14-6. There will be another game tomorrow at 1:10 p.m. for all you big Reds Brewers fans out there.
Yeah, that means the Brewers are 2.5 games behind the Cubs currently, and Cincinnati is still 7.5 games out of first place.
Just give you guys a little heads up now. You're at least through August 4th, which is the final day of the Rocky Mountain Women's.
Ends?
Yeah, on my birthday. No, you're going to see a ton of, well, not a ton. You're going to see an increase in post of my daughters playing disc golf. We got a chance to go out to play today. I got to tell you, it's a little weird to go out to the course, and I really just carried their bag, and the two of them played. We played 4 or 5 holes at one course, and then it was a little wet, so we went to the course just on the road from there. We played 10 more holes there, so we almost got a full 18 in on the day. And I mean, they both have roughly a dozen rounds in their life played, and today they played roughly one more round, so they're pretty new to the game in terms of actually competitively playing. And it's a lot of fun watching them grow and develop. And
I hope you're yelling at them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I need to.
As a dad, and a sporting dad,
I mean,
you
I
definitely should
only
be doing
raised
that.
I only raised my hand a few times. That's not even funny. But no, it's great to see them out there, and they're gearing up because they're going to be heading to the Rocky Mountain Women's event as well, and they're going to be competing in their own divisions. So you're going to see an influx of posts from them, including, I don't know if you saw it, Kenzie full out taking a 3 the other night at a family friendly league that my buddy Johnny Rumble runs in Germantown, Wisconsin. And it's meant for beginners and meant for newer players and families alike. And it's I don't know if it's 160 feet or so, the hole. And she bona fide legitimate 3 and a loud eruption and cheer to go along with it. She had an 8-foot putt to do it, and it was genuine excitement. So pretty exciting to see. Darren asks, anybody know what's up with Worlds coverage, live or post?
Yeah, I do. I know it. Pretty simple. Darren, if you had been listening last week, we went over this.
Yeah, Darren.
Smashbox will be covering live. We're going to be doing 1 round a day currently. That's what's scheduled. We have it worked out with the PDGA. We'll be starting on Tuesday with the MPO at probably around, none of this, the times are not final, but assume an afternoon round. Wednesday will be FPO. And we're just doing 1 round a day as of right now. Thursday will be MPO. Friday will be FPO. Saturday, MPO and FPO.
What?
So that's the plan for live. The women usually will probably go off earlier in the morning. So that Tuesday when we cover MPO, it'll be afternoon round. Wednesday when we cover FPO, it'll be a morning round. They do this not because, as the discussion is, because the women, we always have to schedule them early, but because of the limited media crews. Central Coast, for instance, will be covering, I believe it is FPO 1 and MPO 2, which is why we need the women to go early. Even though they're playing 2 courses, the women still have to tee off early to accommodate the media crew so that they can get the coverage that they deserve. And then I believe Jomez, I know for certain they're covering MPO 1. I don't know if they're covering any FPO coverage or any additional cards on MPO, like an MPO 3 or something along those lines. I would
doubt it.
I don't think so, but I haven't heard. The only ones I've heard are MPO 1, MPO 2, FPO 1, and then our live.
Okay. And also to follow that all up, if someone may ask, as you were just alluding to, with the schedules, that's going to be a little odd for people to get used to. I know it's going to be just a little odd or out of the ordinary that week, because you're used to saying, oh, I can tune in at 9 and 3 every single day, and now you're going to maybe have to jostle your schedule a little bit. But also keeping in mind, the other rounds that they're playing are at Northwood, and that's where the signal is either nil or none or sketchy.
It's a little sketchy.
It may or may not be decent.
We've done a little bit of testing there, and it seems like some of the AT&T coverage there is better than. I mean, there's almost zero Verizon, there's almost zero T-Mobile, zero Sprint. In some spots, you'll get better Verizon, in others. But the signal there isn't that good. So we talked with Nate, and he wasn't comfortable with us trying to do that and frankly
promising it.
We didn't want to say, hey, we're going to cover 2 rounds a day. One's going to be at Northwood, the other's going to be at wherever, Eureka or Sunset Hills, and then have that round be kind of cruddy and just miserable. They didn't want to put out a poor. Nate does not want to put out a poor product, and I don't blame him for that at all. So that is where it currently stands. I've got some ideas. I'm not even going to share them yet because.
Oh no, don't.
Just because. Don't. Just share everything. Because we don't know. We don't know what is going on at this point. But yes, so we're going to be flip flopping between morning and afternoons with MPO and FPO as of right now. I'm excited. We have locked in, I believe, one Robert McCall for.
Have we?
For MPO.
Oh, I don't think we want to tell him or the world that yet.
I just told him.
Ew.
And I don't know if it's 100% lock-in, but there is talks with Hannah Macbeth about FBO coverage.
Who's talking with her?
A lot of people. She just got back on Twitter.
Great.
Dangerous.
So, yeah, I mean, that sounds like a duo or something.
Yeah. And they'll both be paired up with Terry for respective divisions. And we might even have a sideline reporter.
What?
We might. We'll see. There's talks.
There's negotiations.
There's negotiations going on.
Free agency, salary caps for sure.
Oh God, salary caps.
Production caps.
Yeah. Baseball caps.
Yep, all of it. All right, Johnny, I don't have too much here. I am flattered that that I am communicating a little bit right now back and forth with last week's guest in Doug Bjerkes. He's telling me, how do I Patreon? Doug, we'll help you get with the program. And I've sent him the link. But in case anyone does really want to know, and in addition to Doug, it is patreon.com. That's patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. And you can go out there and figure out whatever suits you best, whether you're there just for the support or because you don't even like us and you really just want a chance to win things. We're okay with that too. The bar is set pretty low here for us.
But step 1 tomorrow, find Robert's wallet, grab his credit card, put it in there for your Patreon.
That's the easiest way to do it.
That's what I would personally do.
Ronald Harkey's calling for 2 5-time world champs to be crowned at Worlds this year. And I said, Elaine King's already a 5-time world champ. I think you're late to that party.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think he's calling for a Paige Pierce and a Paul Macbeth. I don't know. It's hard to say they're not.
They're the favorites.
Yeah, they're
if we're
not
talking
favorites
if we're talking
right this
Vegas
very
odds,
minute.
That it's there's nobody close to Paige right now. You just look at the scores.
Even with Katrina's rating 3 or 6 or 8 points higher.
Just right now, if you look at the last month, it feels like, Katrina played very well at SFO. But since then, it's been the Paige Pierce show.
Yep.
Period. And we've seen in FPO that flip-flop. We could see a month now of Katrina dominating. I don't feel like that is the way the tide is moving right now. But if you told me that in a month, it wouldn't shock me. But I would put my money on Paige Pierce. With Paul Macbeth, I mean, it's with the MPO in general, it's a little tougher. I'd put my money on Paul, but the field is, I feel, a little bit more competitive at the very top than what the FPO is right now. It's so tough. I mean, the question is, do I call out Paul right now, Or do I write an article about how he doesn't have a chance to win and see if he can just dominate the whole thing? Or do I wait till like the second or third round before I call and just, light that fire underneath of him?
You do you, man.
No.
All right, the quick answers down the board. Yes, Paige Pierce will definitely be at Idlewild. She's already there, rewinding the show, and you'll hear more from her as she talks about this upcoming week at Idlewild, Idaho. Blue Boy asked, why did Seppo skip it? He said he wasn't mentally prepared, he wasn't mentally up to it and wanted to focus and concentrate on Worlds, which is around the corner. That's why
his game's been poor.
That's ultimately why he skipped it. Keith Allen says he tried some of the coffee Mac today. Good cup. That's good. I know there's a couple different coffee companies that are supporting disc golf. If you like coffee, which Johnny and I don't, if you do, they'll go out and buy a bunch of those. That's awesome. I think, as EMAC saying, EMAC has his own blend, so great to see.
And I love it when we see these unique sponsors do things. Like originally when we saw the disc golf pins, now the coffee. Go out and support that. Like, show these other companies that it's worthwhile to get into disc golf. Even if you don't drink coffee like Terry and I, you probably have someone in your family that does. Give that away and see what they think.
Good call. So we're going to call it. We appreciate all of you guys joining us here tonight.
One last question, I guess. Yeah, Joseph Nooft says he's new to the sport. Why is Worlds title based off of one tournament? It kind of goes back a long time as to when really Worlds was the main tournament. It was a 7 or 8 round event with a final 9. It was kind of I don't say the culmination because it's always kind of been in summer of our year, but it was pre-USDGC, pre-almost any other major. It was the event. And so that it's just kind of been that way, and it has maintained that, even though now we do have the European Open and the USDGC as majors, and we've scaled it down to 4 rounds. It is still that prestige. It still has that tradition, that history behind it. It's still the event that everybody wants to win, period. If you ask 100 pros, 99 of them will probably say, yeah, I want to win Worlds. And if you say, okay, you already won Worlds, what do you want to win next? They'll probably say another Worlds before they say almost any other major. The only exception probably might be a few of the Europeans saying the European Open, but even them, they would probably rather say, I want to be the first male foreign world champion. So that's kind of the history behind it. Am I wrong?
No.
All right.
I'll buy that.
That's right.
Buy that for $1 and put it into Patreon. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We appreciate all of you supporters. Even if you don't support us,
we love you.
You lent us your ear, and you were silly enough to listen to us, and that's on you. So for Johnny V and Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, good luck again at AM Worlds. Check out the Junior Worlds footage I just released a few days ago, a little bonus footage. But good luck the rest of the week. We'll see you this weekend at the Idlewild Open. Robert Dixon on the call. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.